Hey everyone, and welcome to Comics from the Multiverse, the DC Comics podcast from Milfuzz TV. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is Matt.
Hey, what's up?
Also, Connor's here, which is surprising because Doomsday Clock's this week.
Oh, you guys didn't hear? Doomsday Clock got pushed.
Then what the hell did I read?
That wasn't Doomsday Clock.
Damn.
Sure felt like Doomsday Clock.
Was it
more on that
secret?
later.
Was it secret in issue of Red Hood and the Outlaws? Is that what happened? I'm so deluded this week that I thought it was Doomsday Clock because I'm in a.
Look, I'm just saying, if Red Hood and the Outlaws read like that, you wouldn't need to pay me to read it.
Actually,
but still pay him to read it, guys. Still do it.
Oh sure. Actually, one of our patrons, Tyler, the one who makes you read Brimstone, actually, said that he wished that Robinson got a solo Jason book so that he could pay for you to read it.
What a dick.
You're not even the one that hates Jason because you weren't reading.
Yeah, no, but that's how much I hate Jason. I gave up. I was like, no, I'm not reading that.
Which I think would be really funny, just because it would mean he's been paid to read two Jason books, and there's a humour in that I think is delightful. But hey, we talk about DC Comics on this show, and coming up on this week's show, we have Doomsday Clock number 6, we have Justice League Dark number 1, we have Detective Comics 985, Action Comics 1001. I did check out Wonder Woman 51, so I'll have a brief words on that. We have The Flash number 51, and Matt's shaking his head at me as if he just disapproves. He did that before the show when I mentioned it, and he felt the need to do it again in the show. What?
I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Anyway, Flash number 51, we got Terrifics number 6, we have Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps number 49, Mera, Queen of Atlantis number 6, Aquaman 38, and The Silencer number 7. That is everything coming up.
There is a notable omission, though, that we should mention.
Is there?
That we just decided not to do Teen Titans 20.
Oh, because there was too many bloody books and we didn't like the special that much. That was why.
Yeah. So we all decided.
Well, no. We did because I read it.
Did you read it? Oh, but I'll add it in.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to talk about it.
What? Why?
That's fine.
No.
No one else is. I'm not. Let's move the show on. That's it.
No, Matt. See when we get to the end, I want 30 seconds of just impressions out of you, right?
That's fine.
Right.
30 seconds is fine.
You give me 30 seconds of was it good, was it bad, what did you not like about it? Because I'm assuming you didn't like it, but you could do that later.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how angry did it make you?
Later. Right?
I'll give you a preview of angry. It's not so much anger. So
it's just disappointment.
There's a bit of preview.
Okay, so that's the books that are coming up. So it's a big week for books. For some reason, DC are really bad right now, at least for the books we read, of like putting them all on week 4 when every other week could use a sprinkling of more books. It's a weird thing, but that's what's happening.
Especially week 3.
Week 3 especially is quite quiet. But this is after they delayed like 2 books from this week.
Yeah.
So, you know.
That summer special anthology was this week as well, but obviously.
Yeah, I didn't touch it.
Oh, yeah, no chance. Whereas in the solicits, there's a horror anthology book for October that's on a week 5, but there's only like 3 books. And it's like, yes, perfect! I'll happily read the anthology 100-page issue then.
Not after the Halloween anthology I read last year.
Oh, come on, Matt. Take a chance.
No. Apparently, in the summer one that we just had, I think there was a Francesco Martina story. That was pretty good. Yeah,
I'm interested. So we have such a big show. I'm going to cut the small talk here, as fun as it is, and just go straight into the news because we have a little bit of news. We do have to quickly do the sales for June, and then we'll get swiftly on to the books. So that's what's happening on this week's show. And you hear me click a lot because I'm having to work with a much smaller window than normal. Bear with me, folks. Alright, so first things first. Very quickly, Justice League Odyssey has been delayed again. It had already been pushed from like week 2 this month to the end of August. Now it's coming out the end of September.
I did see Williamson talking about this as to why.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out that they're changing core elements of the book. You know, we heard before there was some, like almost translation issues, things that got missed.
Yeah.
No, it seems to be they're changing part of what the book is in concept, and the story that they're telling, and they were like, no, this is better. We want to do this, but obviously they just have to kind of basically start over.
Oh god, I hope it was this is better, and I hope it's not this is terrible. We have to fix it, because if it's this is terrible, we have to fix it, then that makes me much more worried about the book overall. Because typically,
yeah, I wouldn't assume that.
I don't know. I just they would never tell us that though. Is what I'm saying.
This is what I get for looking forward to things.
Yeah, but it's Williamson and Sergio, right? So I wouldn't assume it was terrible. I'd assume that no, we got something better.
Yeah.
But the fact that I wanted it so bad is why it's been pushed back so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But hey. So
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, all the best books get pushed. Doomsday Clock, Mr. Miracle.
This better be of that quality. That's all I gotta say.
That's put a lot of pressure on Williamson right there, I'm not gonna lie. That's put a lot of pressure on the man. So other things that popped up in the solicits this week that are worth noting here. We have essentially another annual, but it's not called an annual. It's called Batman Secret Files #1. It's more anthology style, but it's on a week 5. It's essentially an annual, right? I mean, this is basically what it is. So it's written by Tom King, Jordi Belair, Ram V, Cheryl Lynn Eaton, and Tom Taylor. Tom Taylor's got a story in there. That's cool.
He does, yeah.
That's interesting. We've got art by Mikel Janin, Jorge Fornes, Elena Casagrande, and Brad Walker, as among others that have not been announced yet. So it's an anthology book, a lot of Batman, different people. So it's like I say, it's basically the week 5. It's not an annual, but it's filling that slot.
I like when they do Secret Files, because like one of my favorite Secret Files was the Superman Action Comics. And it kind of just filled in the blanks from Johns' run, and it was really cool. They had different pages where like they broke down what was in the Fortress of Solitude or the different kinds of kryptonite. So and there's a bunch of anthology style stories. So if they can do something like that here too, I'm always open to that.
Yeah, so that's out on Halloween itself. Week 5 falls on a Halloween this year, so. That's
Halloween's on a Wednesday. That's gonna suck for work.
Yeah, annual pricing, annual sizing, but Secret Files #1. And then the horror anthology I mentioned earlier is called Cursed Comics Cavalcade #1, with stories by James Tynion IV, Becky Cloonan, Brian Hill, Tim Seeley, Riley Rosmo, Gary Doberman, as well as others, and art by Mark Buckingham, Becky Cloonan, Riley Rosmo, Riccardo Federici, and others. So yeah, you're getting, and this future story, I'll just read the description for this one, because obviously this is not all Batman stories in this case. Horror, death, face punching. Witness the 10 all-new stories that promise to be the most terrifying, most shocking, and most horrific comics that DC Comics has ever published. Hyperbole much? At least it's self-aware. I'll give it that. Batman, Wonder Woman, Guy Gardner, Swamp Thing, Zatanna, and more of your favourite heroes face unspeakable horrors from the streets of Gotham City to the darkest sectors of the universe. Let's be honest here, that was a pretty matte list of characters in a lot of ways there.
I'm so angry right now.
Zatanna, Swamp Thing, Guy Gardner.
Yeah. Yeah, and sure, and Wonder Woman, I'd say. But, I mean, maybe Batman.
Yeah, honestly, there was a whole list of characters. I was just trying to remember who it was.
Yeah, but Guy Gardner.
Yeah,
I can't help myself.
Yep.
I gotta stop liking things. I gotta go back to not liking things.
So that's 80 pages, $10, just kind of like the other big, books of this type. So again, but it's on a. Oh wait, no, that's not on a good week. Why is it on that week?
Don't tell me that's on week 4.
That's on week 5 because it's Halloween's the last day of October, so it's gotta be a week 5.
No, the solicit says the 10th. I assumed this was week 5. Why is it on the 10th? That's stupid.
Well, then it's not on Halloween, so they need to fix that.
Yeah.
And put it on Halloween.
I'll tell you this: regardless of what week it's coming out, we'll be talking about it on week 5, because that'll be when there's a nice open slot for it.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
So yeah, so other notable solicits this time. It's worth mentioning Nightwing 50, of course, is going to be a big anniversary issue. And why did I put this down specifically? It starts off a big story. Nightwing issue 50. Big issue 50 is an epic 4-part story that brings together critical moments of fear and doubt from the past and the present. A young Dick Grayson hopes to escape the shadow of the Bat and earn the title of Nightwing, while an older Dick Grayson must deal with a blow that he did not see coming. A common enemy unites the timelines, the Scarecrow, as you've never seen him before. The story goes deep into the mythology of the evil and nightmarish development of Dr. Jonathan Crane. So that's interesting, is that they're doing, Percy's doing like a past and present Dick story with Scarecrow.
Yeah, I think there's like 3 books with Scarecrow in it in October.
Is there? That makes sense. It's October.
Yeah, but it does make sense. Just like, here you go, all at once.
Scare time. Yeah, it's about to mention as well is that Nightwing's mentioned in the Batman. Apparently, he's injured in the Batman solicit, and then he's not looking so hot in the Titan solicit. So Dick Grayson's having a rough month in terms of dark stories that are coming to get him.
They better protect They better protect Dick.
This is what
Guard that
happens when
dick.
Didio gets back in charge.
Protect Dick at all costs, people. Seriously.
Yeah. Guard that Dick.
All right. Next up, Green Arrow number 45 is worth mentioning is a tie-in to Heroes in Crisis. Hence why it's worth. I won't read the whole thing, but I just mentioned it's going to tie into Heroes in Crisis. So I thought that was worth mentioning. And then it is also worth mentioning Aquaman 41 is going to actually tie into the next Justice League story called Drowned Earth, and it actually starts there and then goes in. Well, it's the Road to Drowned Earth, and then the Road to Drowned Earth also goes into the Justice League issues of that month. So the actual Drowned Earth main part's not coming till Justice League after that, but yeah.
Yeah, and they did say that Drowned Earth story sets up the Kelly Sue DeConnick run for Aquaman.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
So it all kind of flow in theory.
Yeah.
I'm
awesome.
really excited for Aquaman right now. Like, they got some crossovers coming in. I'm like, yeah, I know people have some issues with that because they don't like when books randomly cross over. But if we can put more of a spotlight on that character because it's been so good, then I'm cool with that.
Yeah, and then last thing from the solicits that stuck out to me is just the annuals that we're getting in October. We're getting two. We're getting a Sideways annual and a Terrifics annual. So that's the ones that are coming in October. So
do you happen to have who's on art for those? Given that they were the art line.
I do not know. I didn't copy down the whole solicits for those. I just wrote down Sideways and Terrifics are getting annuals.
Disgraceful.
I know. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? Right, a little bit shoddy, I'll admit, but that's what you're getting.
Yeah.
That's what you're getting. Okay, so just quickly then, before we move on to books, I will give you some sales figures, just the details here, because I know you like the sales figures. So for June, what do you think was number one for June?
More on a quieter week.
I admit, which is why I'll keep this quick. I'll just make you guess number one, because number one's fun.
I can't remember what happened in June.
You're the worst. He's holding up booze as he says that. No wonder.
Look, I am very tired. And June was a long time ago now.
And alcohol's a sedative, so you're not helping yourself.
Well, I've got caffeine next to me as well.
That's not good for your heart. God. I'm pretty sure that's bad for your heart. I'm not a doctor,
fine.
but
I'm a healthy young man.
Well,
shut up.
If people just played my sales game, it would go much quicker and we'd get through it really, really sharpish.
I thought we played 3 Truths and a Lie, and Connor's lie was he's a healthy young man.
2 of those are lies. You can take your guesses as to which 2 are. So, Matt, what do you think was number 1 in June?
Number 1 in June. Was there a new? No, was there a new Spider-Man?
Batman Wedding. That was June, wasn't it?
Yeah. Batman 50.
No, it wasn't. That was July 4th. Yeah, sure.
All right, fine, whatever. Close enough.
There was no new Spider-Man in June.
No. Not yet. No.
Because Spider-Man's a big seller. I know that.
My God. Okay, I'll give you a hint. It's a DC book.
Justice League.
Yes, you go. Justice League number 1 with 200,000. Not bad. Not too shabby.
See, this is the problem. I'm already seeing Snyder talk about issue 5 on Twitter. So 1 doesn't feel like it was only
issue 5. I saw Snyder tweet Mana pull art from issue 10 earlier today.
Oh.
Okay, well I haven't seen Twitter today, clearly.
Because if you did, me and Connor wouldn't have shut up about it by now.
Yeah. All right. Number 2 was Magic Hoarder, issue 1 with 157,000. Number 3 was Tony Stark Iron Man with 135,000. Number 4 was Amazing Spider-Man 801 with 122,000. Number 5 was Batman 49 with 121,000, and then the next one was also Batman with 112,000. Obviously, that was just the next issue, 48. Actually, that's interesting. 49 went up, so obviously it was ramping up to the wedding. They were ramping up the way.
Right.
Which is cool, I guess. Which is cool. Number 7 was Deadpool number 1 with 105,000. Number 8 was Thor number 1 with 102,000. Number 9 was X-Men Gold 30 with 88,000. And number 10 was Justice League number 2 with 86,000. So there's a big drop off from issue 1, but issue 1 of course has a lot of incentives and stuff. 88,000 for issue 2 is not too bad.
I am surprised it dropped below the 100 though for Justice League with Snyder with that team on it.
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah, no. I thought it was worth just at least quickly going through the top 10 there before we get into the books. So without further ado, though, I will shall not delay it any further because we do have a lot of books to get through, and we're starting off with a biggie. We're starting off with Doomsday Clock number 6. Geoff Johns writing, Gary Frank on art, and he promised at Comic-Con we were getting the origin of Mime and Marionette in issue 6. And I was actually sure at the time when he said that. I was like, oh, does that mean the entire issue's focusing on that, or does it just mean it's part of that issue? And it does kind of all focus on that, although it does have present day stuff as well. It's kind of like we're focusing on them, and it's flashing back to their origin as we're going through, and it's them interacting with the Joker, and how delightful that entire situation becomes. I suppose first things first, did we like the issue?
Yeah.
Nah.
Oh no, Matt's feeling down. Oh,
No,
oh dear.
Yeah. I mean, it's still competently written, and the art is fantastic. But this wasn't the story I was wanting. Like, Mime and Marionette are cool, I guess, but like I don't.
Well, what he's saying is we got that Superman tease at the end of issue 1, and then nothing since, and he's waiting for it.
Well, it's not even that. Like, I know we were getting the JSA stuff later because of the cover with the lantern, and but like the Mime and Marionette stuff is the stuff I'm enjoying the least. Because like, yeah, it's fine, but I don't know how it's really fitting in to the overall story.
I enjoyed this a lot more than I did the Rorschach origin issue.
I agree with that.
See, I like that a lot.
I like
I like that one more. That was with the moth guy, right?
Yeah.
To the flame.
Yeah, but this just feels
like
more
that one
relevant
more.
because even though there are like heavy flashbacks to the origin, there's still a lot of present day stuff with Joker and all the other villains, and a bit more about the Superman theory. I feel like it's actually advancing.
Yeah, and I will say this. Joker being almost shocked that he's met someone who's just as crazy as he is kind of a delightful revelation to watch. Where he's doing his Joker thing. He's doing his Joker thing, and he's threatening them. And he's like, "Oh, you're getting a tattoo next." And then they just turn around and kill half his henchmen in a very violent scene, might I add. We've got heads being ripped off. We got eyes being poked out. Not to mention the flashback where she like strangles the cop with the wire, and she's literally just dangling her entire like kid body off the back of the guy's neck. Like it's all super dark in places, and I think it's kind of fascinating seeing like Joker be like, "Man, okay, I kind of like you guys. All right, okay."
Yeah, I don't like John's Joker that much, which now worries me for the 3 Jokers. So that's always a fun feeling.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
you're the biggest Johns fan here, probably, and we like Johns a lot.
This is why I'm having such problems with this one, because I didn't love this issue, and I've loved every other 1 through 5. This one was just okay.
I agree with the Joker thing. I said this when we got him. Was it last issue we showed up at the end, or was it the one before?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we
It was last. It was last issue.
And I mentioned this is not my favorite take on the Joker. This one that
Oh,
we
that's
got.
fair, yeah.
And I don't think he's poorly written. It's just it's not the Joker I like to read.
No, and that's it. He's kind of all over the place, because I like when someone writes Joker with a voice in mind. Sometimes it's the Heath Ledger kind of gravelly, creepy Joker, and other times it's the Hamill big over the top. And I feel like Johns tries to do both, and it's not, at least for me, he doesn't pull off either particularly well.
I will say, in relation to the 3 Jokers, I imagine they're all going to have to feel distinct, so it might settle in a bit better in that.
Yeah.
Well, we're also getting Bruce and Babs and Jason, but
I think for me, this is less about like his Joker is just a specific type of Joker. So like kind of Connor said, it's more just this doesn't feel like alien to the Joker. To me, it feels like no, this is like one of the classic interpretations of the Joker, and you may not like that version of the Joker. You may prefer the other types.
Well, that's what it is. That's why I said it's competently written. It's not bad. I just
because I didn't
like it.
I wouldn't say this one's my favorite either. But I still think it's a solid enough Joker. There's still like elements in there for me to like, and there's still like moments of that dark glee that I get from him that I get into.
I will agree that he's a bit inconsistent in which Joker it is. There are points where he's like trying to be in charge and show off that he's got Batman, and then when Comedian shows up, he's kind of just grinning, and it's like, oh look, I see smoke, and it's kind of all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I think that plays to the erratic nature of the Joker, though, right?
Oh, that sounds rationalizing to me. You know,
Yeah, I mean, all the best
and
Joker stories pick a type of Joker and go
and
with it.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with this, because I feel like the Joker to me does change at the drop of a hat. That's part of what makes the Joker interesting, is the extreme like shifts in mood just based on something you can't predict as someone else in the room. I don't know. That never stuck out to me as a shift. To me, that just felt like Joker.
Fair enough.
Because I feel like you know, part of that danger, you don't know if he's going to like kill you in 2 seconds or embrace you. Like when you say something and there's that pause before he reacts to it, is he going to be like what you just said and laugh at it, and sometimes he will act like he hates it and then just go, oh, I'm just kidding, and then he'll do his thing because he's the Joker. I did enjoy his basically just making fun of the League of Supervillains or whatever they're calling them this week.
Yeah,
I like that meta narrative. Also, the new supervillain dude who gets. Well, I'm sure because John's put him in there, he's not completely new. But the one Typhoon, whoever.
Yeah, Typhoon.
Like
no, he's
death
a
was.
Firestorm guy.
Yeah, his death was pretty brutal as well. Yeah, there's a lot of brutal death in this issue.
That's the other thing too with Johns. Johns doesn't necessarily write like this, and I feel like he's really going for the Watchmen vibe. Like, I don't want to say he's trying too hard, but it's really with the language and like the silhouette sex scene and the violence is just, I don't know. It doesn't feel like Johns to me, and maybe that's what he's going for. But I don't know. I'm very conflicted about this issue.
I think looking at it as a Watchmen sequel more so than anything else, that works for me.
Oh yeah, it's. But again, I came in looking for what it means for the DC universe, not necessarily for more Watchmen. You know.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting there, and that's why I'm. You know, this is what, halfway through now.
Yeah.
So if this is the only time that I feel like this is at the halfway point, then cool, because we all know that I'm coming back for that Green Lantern on the cover in 7. It's not like this was a deal breaker. So, you know, if I have to deal with what I feel is a valley and the rest have been peaks, then, you know, so be it. So, but there's still stuff. I like the Mr. Freeze stuff here.
Oh, yeah, with the henchmen.
You know,
and, yeah.
With the henchmen, they're all wearing parkas, and they're kind of like, well, hey, if we go Joker, we don't got to wear these anymore. You know, they're kind of that vibe. And then all of the villains just kind of standing around, I thought was great. And you have Riddler and his Frank Gorshin, you know,
I also
costume.
Yeah, I thought that was a little jarring.
Yeah. So,
I actually
Two-Face.
I really liked Riddler when Joker like announces his entrance. He's like, "No, this is my time. Get him out of here."
Yeah.
Well,
that
I like
plays
that.
in well with the jokes and riddles.
Yeah,
you know,
the idea to have a history.
They still
yeah.
have this. Yeah, they have this kind of animosity between them still. And then I just like the Rogues just showing up and acting as a unit. Like, all right, well, we're used to working as a team, you know. So like, if you guys want to go to Kondak with us, then come on.
By the way, this scene here, I feel like obviously there's a reference to Sanctuary, which is cool, and like, okay, right, so we're referencing Sanctuary, and someone's death there, probably one of the victims in that book, because we know it starts with a murder. But I felt like there was a lot of other dialogue in this scene that was hinting at stories that maybe are coming up before we get to like the end of Doomsday Clock and the other books, like something about Wonder Woman being like kidnapped by Amazons, and something about what was one of the other things, but there was a few things where I was like, oh, the guy from the Court of Owls is like, oh yeah, I'm back and I'm finally in power again. I'm like, okay, that sounds like a story. Yeah, sounds like a story we're going to get.
Where's it at?
Yeah, there it is. I think that one's interesting because that could be not necessarily a story we're going to get before it catches up, but afterwards.
Yeah,
more
possibly.
like, I finally returned to lead them, so that'll be we're going to get that next almost.
Right. Well, and it's interesting that Hector Hammond's there, right, after what's going on in Green Lantern Corps, Helen Palace.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Trying to be better.
Yeah, and then you have Tattooed Man, who that's a villain I haven't thought about, and I can't tell you how long. So it's cool that we got all of these like low key villains. It would make sense that some of these guys would come together for protection, and they're hinting at what's going on with Kondak. I want more of that too.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Oh, we're definitely building to that. Also, the fact that Riddler gets kneecapped as well. Like, you know, Riddler's not in a good place after this issue.
No.
It's interesting stuff. I feel like there was just like this rush of excitement of seeing all these villains interact, and like just how like someone like the comedian being inserted, or even that maybe Marionette are like excited. Like, look at all these super villains. There's so many of them. Like, compared to our world, like this is like a playground. Can we
that's
thrive
because
here?
Comedian took them all out. You know,
Probably, yeah.
Comedian never gave them a chance to get going, and that's why I think Mime and Marionette stand out so much. Because they are really the first supervillains that we've had from the Watchmen universe. Because in Watchmen, the ones that we see they're old and decrepit, right? I haven't read Watchmen.
Washed up, yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that these guys are still kind of operating, even though she broke him out, and I forget how she factored in. Oh, didn't Ozymandias get her?
Yeah,
Rorschach sent out for them.
Yeah,
that's right.
So obviously there's a point there. They were in prison. They had been captured, in the Watchmen universe before then.
Yeah.
So,
but because you have to assume that's because Comedian's not operating anymore.
Yeah.
Or somebody like him, because we get from the vibe that to talk about the origin real quick. Her dad's he makes marionettes, and there's one of Night Owl, the original Night Owl, and one of the cops called him a snitch. And whatnot. So you get the feeling that in between Night Owl and when Watchmen takes place, that something changed in the public dynamic on their world.
Yeah, because this would be set before Watchmen, right? Because the Watchmen universe is set in '92 when they came over. So I mean, this would be set well before Watchmen happened, the main story.
Right. So the fact that they're talking about Night Owl like that, and the lack of superheroes is kind of the point of Watchmen itself. Set in '86, right?
Yeah, and you get this super dark story of her father committing suicide because you get these cops are really racist and don't like immigrants and they're preying on them. Yep. You get the first sign of it's earlier on when they refer to mimes it's a funny way to spell maize, their name.
Yeah.
And it's a hint there, but then later on, of course, they flat out grab her, they threaten her dad, and she wants to try and help him, but he commits suicide, and this is what leads to them sort of fight. Because at first he kind of sticks up for her with the bullies, but then they ends up coming in when they're fighting off the cops, and they manage to kill both the cops, and that's kind of we get a montage of okay, here's them growing up, to kind of bring us up to present day.
You think we're ever gonna get to see how they got their powers? Because she has that invisible string, right? Because that's what she's using to lop heads off. And then he has the, all the invisible.
Is hers invisible? Tools. I just thought it was really thin, sharp wire.
I'm not sure.
I thought it was
I'm not sure he even has powers. I'm wondering if it's just guns that are invisible. It's literally just tech. Or the guns themselves are magic or whatever. But
so
he's
that's what
not.
I mean. Do you think you think we'll get where they got those from, or do you think John's is just gonna leave that as something for us to fill in on our own? Because this would have been kind of the time to do it, right? They don't have to give the full origin, but I'm just kind of curious. Someone that wants to know all these things.
I wonder if that specifically will be relevant later on, and that's when we'll get that detail specifically with the invisible guns.
But I do like their dynamic. You get from the thing that they're more than just boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband and wife. They've been a family since day one.
Yeah, they take care of each other.
Yeah, and I do like that because they can be these terrible people that murder and do stuff, but they still do care about one another, and you kind of always want to see that in Joker and Harley, but Joker's been written as such a madman most of the time that it's hard to accept that. So I do like that here, that they are looking for their kid. They're not just on a crime spree.
It's a very different relationship.
It is a bit more what what the public thinks that Joker and Harley are. When people say that, that's like the relationship in DC Comics that they like, the idiots, right?
It's super abusive and one-sided, but
Oh no, absolutely, that's what I'm saying. I think this is the relationship that those people think that it is.
Which is probably the point, actually. That was probably the concept, is let's take that Joker-Harley relationship and what people think of it and actually do that version, because Watchmen, if nothing else, has always been a commentary on superheroes and supervillains, and so why not? So you get these characters who do actually relate, because near the end, when he jumps in to draw the fire of the comedian to protect her, she gets pissed at him, like, no, you don't dare put yourself in harm's way. You know, you don't dare do that.
Well,
like,
that's it. Also, you get the vibe that she kind of looks up to the comedian, right? Because when she's talking about him when she's a kid, and the dad's like, oh, you know, don't pay any attention to that, right? Or am I just remembering that wrong? Let me go find that page.
No, there was something
she says
like
this
that,
little girl's... Yeah. And so, like, what if they were actually heroes at one point, you know? And they did something that crossed the line, and then it turned them into villains.
Oh, I think that's
so
what
that could be something.
I think that's the cop moment,
You know?
Matt. I think that's the moment where they go full on killing there. I think that's where they have that dark path set out for them, because it becomes revenge. It becomes this dark, we'll rely on each other and not trust anyone else kind of thing.
But remember, well, yeah, and that's fine. But I can see, like, what if they did try to make a difference because of the cops? Like, they can't trust the cops, so they go on and they're almost these vigilante heroes that are the inverse of the Watchmen universe, right? Because Watchmen's always been shades of gray. So if she grew up thinking of a comedian as this big grand hero, and he does all the dirty work, I just think that would be interesting.
No, you may
if we get that kind of.
You may be right. I want to mention there at one point, actually, there's a transition between her as a kid to her as an adult, where she's making a face, and it's the exact same face she's making as an adult, and it's this perfect transition between the two.
Yeah, it's really early on, isn't it? It's the page where it's got the marionette doll.
Yeah.
And it keeps getting between her as a kid and the marionette doll, and then the final one is just her as an adult, but in the in the makeup as marionette.
Is that the one I'm thinking of? Because I remember that page, but there's one I think later on where it's more of like a sneer on her face, and she's making the exact same facial expression.
Maybe again later as well, then.
Yeah, it's the exact same facial expression. I remember just really appreciating it because I felt like it was it's in a page where the cops are in and they're just taking the leprechaun, and it's the bottom of that page where kid marionette and then adult marionette are making the exact same expression, and it's really well done because she looks really young in the other one and she looks older.
That's it.
Yeah, I thought it was a really well done transition.
As I say, I found the page that Matt was talking about with the comedian.
Oh, go on.
It's actually it's actually Mime that idolizes him. She said that you keep drawing it. You draw him in school, I think it is. And I wonder if part of that is not respect, but more worship.
Fear.
He's the one who just goes and kills, right?
Yeah,
he's
maybe.
The one who gets stuff done.
Right. So,
yeah.
But no. Yeah, the art. Also, there's that pose with we see the marionette, we see her, and then we see the doll, and they're in the same exact pose when you're on the page. It almost works like a dissolve in editing, where it becomes that. Such a cool. But yeah, the art again, it's always fantastic. It's Gary Frank.
Oh, it's fantastic.
So,
I mean, I feel like because we've praised it so early on in the series that at this point it's like, okay, if there's specific moments we'll bring them up, but otherwise no, it's just fantastic because it's been fantastic since we started.
I think something that I will say I really liked in the layouts towards the end is it's just after the hanging. There's a lot like 3 pages or 4 pages of the 9-panel grid, and then it cuts to a 16-panel. The pace quickens before that final page with the comedian. Yeah, and I thought that was a really effective usage of the panels there.
Yeah, everything's kind of speeding up. Yeah,
it just gets quicker just before the end.
It's accelerating. No, that's cool.
So I said I had issues with the Joker, but flipping through this again, I just realized that when he shocks the comedian, he's making the shocking sound. On that last page. And the face that he's making, the first time I read it, it didn't click. It just
it's won him over, is what he's saying. He's in love with the issue now. He's also forgiven.
But just that, and he's got his hands up, and it's very Looney Tunes.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning because we end here. Joker's still got Batman tied to it. We haven't even mentioned that. He's got, and actually, I love that meta joke as well. When someone says, "Okay, Joker, who you got dressed up as Batman?" He's like, "What do you mean?" It's like,
Batman, it's too fit. Yeah.
Yeah. How many times have you done this? He's like, "Okay, a few, to be fair, but it's actually Batman."
Which Arkham Guard is at this time? Yeah. Well, and I love that it's Two-Face too. That's saying this. Like he's had enough of Joker's stuff. He just wants to do double gimmicks. He doesn't have time to to find out who this new Batman is.
I've had enough of your shit, clown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me go back to making gigantic pennies.
So we end the issue. They've had this steamy sex scene, and comedian catches up to him. He's going to kill one of them because he only needs one of them. He wants to find Ozymandias, and Joker's, as Matt pointed out, shocks him from behind while making the noise, and he's like, and then that's when they like are standing there saying, "Hey, I bet the comedian could tell us where Dr. Manhattan is because they want to find Manhattan," and Joker's like, "Oh, who's Manhattan?" And that's quite an interesting idea. Is that what's Joker going to find out about this world? And is he going to like the sound of this? Does he want to meet Manhattan? Obviously, there's a joke about him needing a dentist, but like it's amusing. And yeah, he's like, "Yeah, it hurts when I smile," which is again, it's a very on the nose Joker thing to say.
And he takes the pin.
The pin, yeah. No, it's I was really into this show. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I feel like the ones that are really focused tend not to be my, which is weird because I feel like with TV shows the ones that are really focused are my favorite. I feel like with this series, because I'm so into everything that's going on, I'm almost like, no, I want some of the JSA stuff. I want some of
everything.
Yeah. But this was really well done. I liked how it flipped between them. I thought the flashback was pretty like enthralling, and then the Joker stuff was a lot of fun, especially the idea of Joker meeting someone who was just as crazy as him, and he's like, you know, it's that like maybe there's been people who are close to as crazy as him, but this is like a new level. This is like, especially when he accidentally shoots his own guard. He's like, oh well, I can't let this happen, and he just shoots his own guy in the head. He's like, well, that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Joker, love that Joker. So no, I didn't get a chance to read through the back matter, but I don't know if you guys wanted to mention it.
Yeah, Connor, did you?
Yeah, I had a skim through them.
Yeah.
It was basically, if I recall, just it's one of the files from about Typhoon. What was it's not Project Superman, is it? The actual.
No, but it's akin to Project Superman. So they gave him powers to have him infiltrate the super community, and they've used him numerous times, and they were going to send him to Kahndaq to see what's going on with Black Adam, and because he got killed here, and because it's so top secret, the government's denying him any benefits to his kids. Because
no. If I recall, they're still paying the kids, but they won't give him the funeral, and they won't absolve him and come out and say that he was a hero and he's working for them. His reputation is still left.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what I got mixed up was his partner's like, well, no, he deserves a full military funeral for his service because he was in the Navy or the Marines and elected to go through this, almost kind of like a Deathstroke kind of thing. Like you go through this product to become a better soldier. And because it changes them so much, they turn him into super.
I think what's interesting to me is this is a file from the Department of Metahuman Affairs. Yeah. This does seem to confirm, the theory that he was created, because that was one of the arguments. Is he was outed as he was created. He's working for the government, and he was denying it. We got it in this issue at the big meetup where he was denying that very thing, and this seems to confirm it.
I mean, I guess you could argue that. Like everyone's like having like false like documentation to try and say they were, and that's the whole conspiracy.
Yeah.
So
it could be. Yeah.
So is this the real documentation or is this the doctored stuff? I guess what I'd say.
I mean, it's hard to say because this is labeled as confidential. It's just an interdepartmental file. It's not going public.
Oh, that's fair.
No, and it's from the partner writes on it, so you have to assume this is real. Also, what is from Supergirl? That was Director Bones. What was that division?
DEO.
DEO, okay. So it's not. So Department of Metahuman Affairs is pretty new.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be the DNA. Okay. I'm just trying to keep them all straight because DC's starting to go wacky with them all.
Yeah, got a lot of acronyms to keep track of. I suppose we'll rate Doomsday Clock issue 6 out of 10. Connor, what are you giving it?
8.5. Not the best issue, but expertly told.
Matt.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with an 8. So while that seems like I didn't like, 8's so high, and it seems like I didn't like it. It's still well crafted.
Yeah, I was gonna say for the amount of like negativity at the first half of this discussion, that 8 was not what I was expecting. Yeah, 8.5. I'll agree with 8.5. Really solid. Really good stuff. But not definitely a couple of other issues that are my favourites over this one so far. But yeah, we're halfway through. Point that out. Like we're
I know.
Halfway through Doomsday Clock.
Yeah, we'll finish it in another year.
Yeah.
That's actually accurate. I was going to say no, what you're talking about, but I'm thinking about it and.
No.
Yeah. I mean, if they do manage to speed up, like they said they were gonna try to, then great. But
how? I mean, this is unlikely to actually happen. But how great would it be since we got the first three months in a row? How great would it be if they said no, 10, 11, 12 are coming out back to back, no gaps in
that'd be
between
great.
those.
I'm expecting, if anything, it to be even further delayed rather than fail.
Well, if that's the case, then that means Gary Frank is an actual machine, and like there's no way.
Do you know what?
It doesn't happen.
I used to have hope that they were working kind of ahead, and they delayed things so that it wouldn't fall behind. But I remember a while ago, I think it was the last issue, he tweeted like, "Oh, I just finished the last panel of issue 5. I'm gonna have a drink to celebrate." I'm like, "What? That's out in like 2 weeks? No, be ahead, you bastard!"
I want them to be ahead too, but I also don't want to sacrifice quality.
Oh sure, of course.
I think he was ahead to start with. That's how we got 3 in a row.
Yes,
because he got ahead first, but then it caught up.
All right.
I wonder if he had started earlier and not did all of those Action Comics covers that I loved.
Yeah.
All right, that'll take us on as Connor's finishing his quick snack. If you're watching the video version, he's munching away. We're going to talk about Justice League Dark issue 1. James Tynion IV, writing of Alvaro Martinez on the art. So obviously this is the big number 1 that we're getting on time. Justice League Odyssey coming much later, and this is of course the magic side of the DCU, led by Wonder Woman. This is very much the okay, who's on the team? I mean, the team's not really formed quite by the end necessarily, but obviously we're closer to it by the end.
You see most of the main
roll
players.
call.
Yeah, it's a roll call. There you go. And basically, the gist of this issue is that magic is messed up ever since No Justice, ever since the Tree of Wonder specifically. Is causing chaos with the magic world, and magic's not working. Zatanna's trying to do a magic show, and she ends up nearly killing the audience with tentacles coming out of the hat instead of the bunny. Well, the bunny comes out half dead.
The bunny comes out dead.
Yes, comes out dripping blood. And then it's like, okay, Wonder Woman tries to recruit her. Zatanna says, "No, I'm not just Sleeger. Deal with it." And she goes to a meeting
Ain't my thing.
with all the magic-y villainy people. Constantine's there for a bit. Does Constantine things. Easily the worst part of the issue. And
Piss off.
No, I agree.
oh yes, Matt. Yes.
I'm not.
No,
I
there's nothing wrong with it.
You know how Pete feels about Guy. That's how I feel about Constantine.
He's not even wearing his trench coat this time. He's suave. He's in a nice jacket and shirt.
If I had a dope trench coat like Constantine, yeah, I would never stop wearing it. So that's bad that he's...
Yeah, for some reason he stopped being Spike this issue and started being Angel instead. I don't get it, but whatever. That was a reference to the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Thank you, Matt. You almost had me there.
I was trying to throw the alley-oop and you just took it and go, no, I can do it myself.
I think there's a slight delay because
he does not need help getting that reference.
I think there's a slight delay between us because when I started that, you hadn't started speaking yet, so I thought I was just in there, you know, clear. Anyway, so at NBC, Wonder Woman's at the Oblivion bar with Bobo, Detective Chimp, and just sort of airing her woes.
And proprietor now.
Yeah. And Tracy 13 is there just to basically give him a rough time. And
what's his new title? I've forgotten now.
Oh God. Let me get to that page then. I suppose
he calls him Nightmaster.
Nightmaster.
And the figures expecting them weren't expecting a chimp, and were upset by that revelation. But at NBC, that Wonder Woman's already got Kirk Langstrom, Man-Bat, working under the Hall of Justice on all these weird dead bodies. Which, by the way, so Connor knows this especially. You know this to a point, Matt. I'm not a big magic guy, typically, right?
No.
But when it can kind of work for me is when it veers into horror, because that's when I like the unknown mystery of it, right? And I have to admit, the first half of this issue, I wasn't feeling as much. Because it was, Magic's acting wonky and Constantine's there. Cause,
Magic's broken.
Yeah. But it's when she walks into that room. I mean, I like Man-Bat, don't get me wrong. Man-Bat with his like bat head but in the lab coat is working for me.
I love how excited he is.
Oh, he's so excited. Yeah. And I love how Chimp's there for the audience to be like, wait, he's a Batman villain. Why is he here? Just to give you that connection.
And why does he just have a bat head? What is wrong? What has gone wrong with him?
New serum.
Yeah.
He wants to keep his batness, but he wants to have his all his mind there to do his work.
Which I don't understand. But you know what, Kirk, do what you need to do, man.
It looks cool. That's it's comic books, Matt. It's just that's the reason.
He looks so. I don't know. You know when he first pops in and he's like, "Oh, you found another member." He's so excited, and the bat head really shows that off.
Do you know what he looks like? Actually, he looks like the henchman from Basil the Great Mouse Detective. If you remember Ratican, played by Vincent Price, his henchman is the bat with the peg leg. That's what he looks like. There you go.
Like him, isn't it?
Maybe it is. Maybe I'm just getting sheltered memories.
As much as I enjoy Zatanna in Wonder Woman, I think Langstrom was my favorite part of the book, just because
I agree.
Like Pete said, the enthusiasm and how he's like, nah, science always has the answer.
He's a bat in a lab coat.
You know, because
what's not to love?
He's the guy. Yeah, he's the guy that became half man, half bat because of science. No magic there. So,
which I actually kind of.
My favorite part is definitely the Magic Council, but you know, whatever.
But whatever.
But you know those characters. I don't care. Like I saw Felix Faust, and I was like, all right, whatever. Where's Neron?
Clarion was there. Obviously, Swamp Thing popped up, and Zatanna goes to see Swamp Thing about why he was spying on the meeting.
You mean God damn it! I just ruined my own joke. You mean Alan Moore in plant form?
Yes. He
oh
does
right.
look like
Okay.
Alan Moore, doesn't he? I know he was based on Zakk Wylde, but he looks like Alan Moore.
So was that an original like Vertigo Swamp Thing thing? He's based off of Zakk Wylde?
No, just this version.
This version. Yeah.
That's such an odd pull. Is it because Zakk Wylde's such a comics fan?
Come on. Before we go any further, can I just ask who the hell is Zakk Wylde?
He's a guitarist.
Okay.
What's the band?
Yeah.
I can't
Black
remember.
Motorcycle Gang.
Black
Label.
Black Label
Motorcycle.
Society?
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
And
He's
then,
got the guitar it's the black and white spirals. That's him, isn't it?
Yeah, he also played with Ozzy. He's played with a couple others. Yeah, he's a big metal guitarist. But no, they could say that it's Zakk Wylde all they want, but that dude, that's Alan Moore.
It is Alan Moore, yeah.
I mean, Alan Moore is basically Swamp Thing in real life, so why the hell not? I mean, at this point,
Swamp Thing is not that grumpy. Let's be fair.
He's pretty great. If you start like ruining flowers and shit, he'll get pretty grumpy.
I think Alan Moore would do the same. Just if you start picking flowers out of his garden.
Swamp Thing.
Hey, are you having fun? Stop it.
Because Swamp Thing here, he is not considered to be on his lawn. He is the lawn, so he's very upset about it.
Get off of me.
But no, what you're saying, the equivalent here is going up to Alan Moore and just pulling out a hair from his beard. I can't be done, admittedly, but it's like trying.
No, I mean the Mjolnir wouldn't do it. Wolverine's claws wouldn't do it. Superman's heat vision, whatever, none of them would do it.
I'm just afraid. Like, look, I don't believe in magic. I'm a lot like Langstrom. I believe in science. Like, I know science has the answers. But if I start messing with Alan Moore, I'm afraid I'd get hexed.
Yeah.
Something like that's.
Which actually,
oh my god.
Oh god, where's Matt coming up with now?
Alan Moore hexed Doomsday Clock. That's why it's been so delayed.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I mean, you might be right.
Look, the point I was going to make is that what I like about this team, actually looking at it as a whole, is that there's only actually one or two people who are straight up magic related. Like, I like that there's a scientist. I like that Detective Chimp is just a detective. He's not magic based. He's not science based. He's just he deduces. He's a detective. You know, Kirk's
Something straddles that line.
He straddles the line. Zatanna's the full-on magic person. Wonder Woman's kind of in, feet in two worlds as well because of the mythology she's from. But they're all.
I did like her speech about like, no, why am I not allowed magic? Look at all this shit in my story.
Yeah.
But
it makes sense. No,
but I'm just saying, I love the idea that like it's a mix of different people from different backgrounds tackling this one magic problem. Whereas typically a Justice League Dark will be all the straight up magic characters for the most part, right?
Yeah. So I know Connor probably read it, Pete probably didn't, but did you guys read Demon Knights during the New 52?
Yes.
It was a long. Yeah, it was along the same lines where like they straddled that line of magic users, but it was also set during fantasy, so you could do it a little easier. But I'm getting Demon Knight vibe already.
Yeah.
From
That
this
was
one issue.
Paul Cornell, wasn't it?
Yep, Cornell started it, and then I can't remember who finished it.
No, I'm not sure. That was a great little book.
It was a lot of fun, but you know, because they weren't, it was like the Shadow Pack. I could never get into the Shadow Pack stuff because they were just outside of Detective Chimp. They were all magic-y people. You know, you had Fate there. You had
I like the
mix. Wizard and all this stuff.
So anyway, to swing this all the way back around to a point I was making earlier, is that when they walk into that, like, you know, the morgue they've got down there, and we see the dead bodies that have been affected by magic, they're like straight up like Lovecraftian, like cosmic horror looking like victims. Even there's one later on when they all start reacting. One is a straight up, the mouth from Alien, the Geiger,
it is,
coming out the mouth.
I was also looking that some of them look also like the Thing from Carpenter's version.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely.
Tendrils and like if the head just got up and started walking away.
It's the idea of the head, like if the idea of the head split and there's all this flesh between the two halves of the head. I'm pretty sure there's someone like that. That's very the Thing.
Yeah. So, real quick, let's talk about Zatara and how Constantine accidentally lit him on fire during a seance.
Yes, Connor, explain this part.
Accidentally.
Yeah.
Wait, what do you want me to say about it? Constantine just does shit, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, like...
There's a reason they don't let him into their meetings anymore.
But you would think he just wouldn't, like, cavalierly just show up to the daughter of the guy he set aflame and be like, oh yeah, my bad, sorry about your dad. You know, like... I don't know. He's...
Yeah.
He's treating it like a whoopsie daisy. It's a whoopsie daisy to him.
Yeah. Anyways,
he's aware though. He's aware he's being a dick. He says, "You know, that was pretty insensitive of me." So he knows that was a shitty thing.
Nah, he's too smug about it.
Yeah, but he has a smirk on his face as he's saying it.
He does, yeah.
Yeah. Go on, forgive me.
So
I'm too charming not to forgive, even though I killed your dad.
Who's the world's greatest magician now? Not your dad, because he's on fire. That's what that smile says.
Matt is well versed in smile reading, apparently.
Yeah, so also there's a dragon skeleton, and if we don't get a big old dragon by the end of this, I'm gonna be very upset of this first arc. Because that's Chekhov's dragon skeleton.
I mean, actually,
right?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but given that we're getting into this crossover in October, I mean, that's still technically part of this first arc, right? Essentially, this must be the prelude to that.
It depends if it's a shorter first arc than we're thinking.
I mean, I guess if it's only 3 issues, I guess then fair enough. But I'm thinking of the trade, though.
No, I agree. But a 3 issues plus, that would be what, 5 issues for that story.
And that makes sense.
It's a slightly bigger trade than average, but that first Flash trade was like 9.
Yeah.
Oh, my mic's gone.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Oh, Matt, your mic's going. Yeah.
So we agree that the trade would have to be like the 5 of the crossover plus the first 3, right?
Yeah. I think that's plausible.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking about it earlier that the first trade is going to have that crossover in it.
Yeah, it will.
So we also Swamp Thing. Why he's into this is because the Tree of Wonder, like, it's not part of the green.
Yeah, it's messing with these.
Communicate with it.
Yeah, it's messing with his ecology, and there's a message from the tree that comes to Zatanna in the form of her burning father, just to rub salt in the wound here further, and teases a bunch of stuff. Says that one of the team is going to be the maybe the savior, but could more likely be the demise of the civilization of the planet and everything in it. So that's fun, but of course the tease that I was looking forward to, because I remember him Tynion teasing this on Twitter, and this is where I got really excited for the book, was the tease of the Upside Down Man, who is proper.
That's what I'm looking up right now.
Yeah, proper creepy horror, and you just got a little tease of it here. He's coming later, and then this is when all the bodies are waking up and being all like the Thing and Geiger-esque, and Man-Bat goes full Man-Bat. Zatanna and Swamp Thing show up to help, and it's like, okay, it's time. Like, so they're all kind of together now.
And
So
sounds like we're seeing Doctor Fate next issue,
It does,
judging
yeah.
by the next time
Yeah,
thing.
fate holds the answers is the next time thing. Yeah.
I know Tynion said we'd be seeing the newer Doctor Fate, the younger one from the DCU stuff.
Right.
But I assume that we'll be seeing one of the older ones, whoever it is right now. I think it's Kent Nelson at the minute.
Yes.
I don't know.
I remember. Yeah, I think it's Kent Nelson.
I think that's who was in Blue Beetle, from what I recall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
So, no, it was pretty good.
So-
I'm into it. I might be able to set it
Yeah.
up.
Well, like the Upside Down Man, I just wanted to point out, it reminded me a lot of in American Vampire, where they started hinting at the Gray Stranger.
Yeah.
Like it just had the presence, and I think that's funny because Tynion came from Snyder's, tutelage. So if this is gonna be something that
Do
close,
you think they had to read American Vampire in his classes?
if they didn't have to, they just should have, because it's that good. At least until second cycle. I still haven't finished second cycle, but
I'm getting like a cross between the Tooth Child from the first season of Channel Zero and that mixed with like the Batman Who Laughs for the smile kind of thing. Like I'm getting a mix of those two.
Yeah.
But
Upside Down.
I looked up Upside Down. Yeah, I looked up Upside Down Man, and he's a Tynion original. So I was trying to see if there's any allusions to, another DC villain.
Or even actually, there's one that Connor will get more than you, Matt. But Babylon from Twin Peaks.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, me too.
You'd love that
Well,
season, Matt.
Matt, you make wrestling reference all the time. You
I
have
know.
to just take it.
It's not even that he just makes references. He uses terminology in his everyday speech like it's something everyone. I mean, I understand it.
Yeah.
That's what that's what happens though when you go to as much wrestling as I do, and your friends all use it. It becomes your vocabulary.
He starts talking about
like,
this is a shoot, or this is a work, or this is a
I don't use shoot and work.
a heel
I
turn,
will
a
use
face turn.
Heel face. Yeah, it's
What the
storytelling.
hell is shoot and work?
Shoot is something that's real. A work is something that's worked out. It's for lack of a better term.
A work is fictional. A shoot is actually them going off script and really getting angry at each other. Usually.
So, but you can do a worked shoot, which looks real but isn't. That's what CM Punk was famous for. So
It's just a lot of bullshit. Call it real and fake.
no, you can't, because it's like I don't know if you've ever worked on a stage production, because I haven't.
Yeah, I have.
But they have their terminology too. That when you go back, so it's the same thing. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I stop and think about it, I don't know why they just don't use the terms hero and villain. Because I mean, what's wrong with those, really? They're fine.
That's where like Jericho uses good guy, bad guy. Because he doesn't like saying babyface and heel, right? Doesn't want to expose the business. But yeah, good guy, bad guy. That's what I've started to use too. But heel turn is such a great phrase.
Oh yeah, I use it. I remember when I saw Force Awakens, there's a moment towards the end with Kylo where I said, "Oh, he just got nuclear heat and went full heel." That was my thought during that moment. I was like, I compared it to a wrestling event where the heel like makes sure the audience hates him. That was that moment. Anyway, so
I don't know what you're saying anymore.
the art's pretty. I mean, we're talking about Star Wars here, Connor. To be fair, you should know exactly what's going on.
I'm just gonna say,
References that I don't get.
y'all bring up Twin Peaks. That's what happens.
He brought up Twin Peaks, not
Joe-
me.
I go in full shoot, and y'all gonna get worked.
Forever from this time forth, whenever I talk about Star Wars, I'm going to talk about it through wrestling terminology. It'll work gloriously. It'll be great.
If you like Star Wars, you might like wrestling. I'm just saying.
Palpatine's the Vince McMahon, and we'll go from there. So,
Palpatine doesn't give a crap about his fans. That makes so much sense.
So, art's pretty good in Justice League Dark. Martinez doing good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. That page on fire is particularly gorgeous.
Yeah. I have to admit, like, that stuff's good, but that's very showy to me. Whereas I actually really love the shadows. I love the dark, like, just the opening stuff on the stage with Zatanna and the spotlight, and everything's really sort of concealed. I like that a lot. That's my kind of thing.
I like the Swamp Thing stuff because like the tendrils go through, like pages and whatnot.
Yeah.
iPad's flipping out. I'm only hitting every other page now. This is great.
I will say, who do you think it is that requests so many double page spreads? Do you think it's in the art, or do you think Tynion just likes writing them in? Because following
Tynion.
detective. Like,
Yeah.
it's just seems to be his thing.
Well,
Although, funnily
and
enough,
it's kind of an economy of space too, because you can do like I don't feel like there's less story or less panels even.
sure.
It's the way that they're laid out. So that tells me that's on the page. It's not so much the artist working
That's
it
true,
in.
yeah.
Well,
You know?
that's the weird thing. Like, I almost think that you could almost argue the opposite. That if it was bigger panels and it was more of a big like spread because they want to use the 2 pages to show the big images, I would say that's on the page because it's written that way. Whereas because there's so many panels in these 2-page layouts, it's like, well, that could have been written as 2 regular pages, and then Martinez went, hey, I can just put all this information.
Smush them together.
Yeah.
Because like on the first double pit, is it the first? Hold on, let me go through.
First one's with Wonder Woman and Zatanna stage.
Okay, no, the one with in the Oblivion bar, because you got that panel that stretches all the way across.
Yeah.
That's almost splits the page.
No, they do that on the first one as well, where there's the one panel on the top that goes all the way across, and then the rest is
because Martinez was one of the regular artists on Detective as well, so I mean it could be like a pair thing. It could have just been them together, like, hey, let's do more double page layouts.
Yeah, so it was like one of those things with Lemire and Sorrentino that on Green Arrow they would do these pages that were like a splash page where it would go all red with and stuff. I thought that was a Sorrentino thing, and then when I kept reading more Lemire and Sorrentino wasn't there, it was still happening. So I think he just likes that
I've seen that in Sorrentino books without Lemire though, so I think Lemire just liked it and then told
and he adapted it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things with almost think of a director and an actor, right? An actor will act a certain way, but a director directs them, and I think a writer to an artist is kind of, you know, there's elements of that here or there depending on who it is. Obviously, if you've got a superstar artist who doesn't want to take orders, then they might just do what they want. But
I mean, that was Capullo and Snyder early on.
It was,
yeah.
Where Capullo's like, all your words are cluttering up my beautiful images, and he's like, yeah, but people are only looking at your images because of my words, and they would go back and forth and almost couldn't finish that first arc.
I do like the idea though of someone telling Snyder to just like calm down the words a little bit. I like that. That coming from someone.
And he has. Do you hear them talk about it now, where they work together so well, as they have this shorthand where Capullo will give him a certain amount of pages to clutter up, and then Snyder will let him have a little bit more freedom on the page. So, you know, but he says they're like brothers, and you only choke them out every so often. So,
yeah.
All right, so we're excited for this going forward, then, I assume.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good. Any final thoughts before I ask for ratings?
No,
excellent.
I'm excited. I think the only problem is that I have to wait a full month for more.
This is true, which makes me think that Tynion. Well, I know he's helping with the League of Doom stuff, but I wonder if when that's done, if he'll be on another book as well. If they're setting him up for a book number 2, especially if this is only a single, because he was doing a double for a long time.
He was, yeah.
So there you go. So ratings then, Connor.
Yeah, I loved it as a 9.
Oh, Matt.
I didn't love it as much, but I still loved it. 8.5.
I didn't expect me to be the lowest. Solid 8 for me, which I'm still quite positive on it. 8 is great. It is great.
Yeah.
But
it is.
I still like Doomsday Clock a bit more. That's all I'm saying. So moving on to what is next? Actually, the Detective Comics 985. There we go.
Skipping over action. We're going to Detective before action.
Action's after Detective.
Okay.
It's always Batman first, Matt.
It's always been that way around.
That's not. I mean, one's at 1001 and one's not. So I just thought, you know.
No, 1000 gets special treatment. 1001 does not get special treatment.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about.
Screw your Bendis issue.
No, I wanted to make Connor be quiet, so
keep
whatever.
It clean. Keep it clean. All right. So, Detective, this is the third part of this story with Karma and the Bat sidekicks, you know, making Batman weak and all the rest of it. Another really solid issue, really dark issue actually. Karma's antics in this one are pretty up there. He kidnaps a bus full of school children, killing the driver in the process, kidnaps a news reporter, makes her give the essentially the ransom demand on air, and then burns her alive on live TV.
Oh, poor girl.
Yeah.
I know, it's super dark. Honestly, I like this issue a lot. I think what I really like about Bryan Hill's... I never mentioned, actually, Bryan Hill wrote this and Phil Briones is on the art. What I like about Bryan Hill's handle of this stuff is that I feel like his conversation between Black Lightning and the other characters, and them like convincing him, hey, Batman told you not to let us involved, but what we're trying to tell you is that he thinks he can handle it and he can, so we need to help him. And that conversation I thought was really well handled.
Yeah, so I'm not that familiar with Black Lightning. Like, I know he's popped in, but I love this version from Hill because he feels like the anti-Batman in the way where Batman's driven basically by his emotion. Like, yeah, he's a detective and he's logical, versus Jefferson Pierce, he's logical and he takes his time and he hears everybody out and then makes a decision. You know? Yeah,
which I think is greatly shown in the scenes with Alfred as well. Like that conversation with Alfred I thought was really well handled. Honestly, my only complaint with this issue is that I thought Bruce just driving in the cliffs to have this memory of who Karma was a little bit, okay, sure, whatever.
Honestly, my big glaring problem is the flashback to Karma's origin. I think this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. This whole conceit that he just goes up there and it has his flashback.
Okay, no, I thought you meant the idea of him going in the car to have the memory. No. Yeah, I thought you specifically meant that. I mean,
well, yeah,
the actual story itself.
Yeah, just the idea of how it, like what Batman doesn't remember this big moment from this back when.
Oh no.
Or even the idea
that's not the problem that I have. Like that's a problem now that you mention it. But the idea of Bruce intentionally using a form of the Scarecrow gas on someone and going, oh, that's Karma. Nah, I'm not buying that. No, under no circumstances is Bruce that vindictive.
It's funny though, because if it wasn't for the fact that this was Bruce's own memory, I'd have said there was going to be a swerve that wasn't really Batman. But it's Bruce's own memory, so it has to be.
Yeah, I think that's probably why we go through that bit in the car, establishing that, so that there's no way that this can be swerved.
Yeah. And
unless this isn't Karma, it's Batman thinking like that he's got him figured out, and it's not going to turn out to be this guy.
That's possible.
You know? Maybe, but either way, he still did this, and I hate that.
I will say one thing I did like from it is that it tied it back into Outsiders by setting it in Markovia, right?
Yeah.
So, which means Geoforce might be making an appearance. I mean, we've heard his name, and we've heard Markovia and Doomsday Clock. They're part of the. I forget what's going on. Some kind of weird thing going on in Markovia that's causing problems with the Superman theory and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I kind of did. I go back and forth with Batman. I kind of did like him weaponizing the fear gas to use on a soldier like this.
This is the thing. I can see him weaponizing it and using it in the field, but this is a guy he's already taken down. He's dealt with the problem and then uses it on him.
No,
that's fair.
That's fair, and maybe it says this is a young, angrier Batman who's not quite.
Yeah.
I get that's the implication because it's it's a years ago this memory, but I don't think even a young Bruce does that personally.
And his whole
it just didn't sit right with me.
Honestly, I agree that the scene feels kind of weird. I don't think it's a huge deal in the. Like, because everything else in this show I really like. I like how the other characters are interacting. I like Bruce feeling good. The scene with Bruce and, or more specifically Batman and Gordon on the rooftop, where Gordon sees that it's bothering him. He's like, hey, it's not your fault what these crazy people do. Mm-hmm. And he jumps off and says, of course it is. Like, I like exploring this and the idea that he feels responsible for creating these people. And maybe this is something that's changed over time because of the cause and effect.
Yeah, I think that's a story that I like to see when it's more just the concept. Like, the way Jim's presenting it here is like, oh no, it's just the concept of you're not responsible for them. But in this case, Bruce is directly responsible for this one, and I feel like that lessens that story a little bit, where he's not having to confront the idea of whether or not he's responsible. That classic idea.
Yeah.
But here he knows he is. So it takes a little away from it.
I think what will make this work ultimately, though, is that it's not about that as much as it's about what else he's created. He's created essentially, Babs and Cass and Duke and what they are now, and it'll be them like helping and saving the day and them becoming something that I think is going to be the main point of this. Like, he didn't just they didn't make him weak. He made them stronger. And we can do that. Also, I love when Jefferson said to Babs, "Hey, he beat Cass. Like, what are you going to do?" She's like, "What do you want to spar and find out?" So she's just going for it. She's like, "Oh, you want to fight me?"
She also calls him Sparky, which I loved.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I like that you couldn't find the plug. So he just
I was
charges
sitting
it
there.
with himself.
Yeah.
Yep, I love it. Man, I'm starting to like Black Lightning a whole lot. He's entering the Guy Gardner, Booster Gold pantheon.
Well, Joe, what's good about this here is that we're pretty sure this is leading to an Outsiders book with Black Lightning leading it. So
Honestly, I'm surprised it didn't get announced to Comic-Con with everything
As
else.
honestly, so am I. It's weird. I wonder if it's because they're waiting there's a few months after the arc before they're actually launching it. Like they're waiting for
Must be,
January,
yeah.
February, and that's why they didn't announce it.
Yeah.
But hey,
Yeah. So far, so good. I'm liking this Outsider stuff.
I am. Yeah, so am I.
Yeah.
So, ratings, Connor.
7.5. It's all the present day stuff's good, but just a little bit tainted.
All right, Matt.
I'm giving this one an 8. Plus the Briones art, I really liked. So like the car thing was ridiculous, but it looked super cool on the page.
Oh sure.
Like, yeah.
I'm giving it an 8, but I'm just thinking about my. I think I preferred the art in the first 2 issues from
I
Madoncha.
did too.
But I mean, this is still fine. It's not bad art by any means. But hey, so that will take us on to Action Comics 1001. Bryan Michael Bendis writing, Patrick Gleason on the art. By the way, it's just really weird saying 4 digits. Not that you see them individually, but
yeah, it is.
It's just weird to say 1001. Like
you got 1001. Like. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm trying to load
could.
the syllables for you.
I feel like if you say that, it lessens the effect.
It does. Yeah, you need to say it
I mean,
proudly.
in 50 issues time, sure,
Yeah.
then no one really cares. But right now, you want to really
Yeah,
big deal
yeah.
about
When you
it.
say 1051, that sounds fine. I think 1001 sounds a bit. I think until we get to the teens. But I think 1013 sounds fine. But up until 12, I think you have to say the whole thing.
Yeah, fair enough.
Connor's
That's
thinking
fine.
about
I'm not
it.
gonna argue that.
All right. So this is the second Bendis Superman book. We were told this was the more Daily Planet focused one, and sure enough, it actually starts. Well, not completely, but it starts with at the end of the big opening scene. It actually we get a little bit of like what Clark's story is about the thing that Superman did at the start, and there's some fun stuff there. He's stopping these 2 criminals. And the one guy's telling the other criminals like, "Hey, stop shooting them! You're embarrassing me." And then like after he runs out of ammo, he's like, "Oh, please tell me! Please do not throw the gun at him. This is just humiliating."
Yep.
That was really funny. That was just some humor speak.
I love
Nothing
it.
else.
I can't stop myself. Like, he's so freaked out Superman's there. Because I thought they were going to get away. Yeah. Oh, man, the art looks so good in this. I'm just going to jump to that real quick. Because
Oh, sure.
I like Gleason, but Gleason changed up. I don't know if it's the inker. I don't know if he physically changed his style like Capullo does.
Yeah.
But it's a different kind of Gleason, and
It's different.
I love it.
Even his Clark looks like in the Daily Planet. He's definitely obviously this makes sense because obviously before in Superman when he was drawing him, he was always at the home where everyone knows who he is. But here he looks so hunched. He looks so Clark Kent. I guess
the Clark Kent body language. He's got the rolled over shoulders, and he's making himself shorter.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to take up less space.
Yeah. And so they're at Daily Planet, and Good and Trish are basically debating, like, hey, why does anyone even try it in Metropolis? Superman's here. What's the point? Like, he's around, and they're saying, hey, no, there's tons of stuff going here. Well, you could call the cops just as easily. I particularly like Jimmy's lines, like, I'm telling you, there's shenanigans going on here. There's actual shenanigans and malarkey. You should see the malarkey. That was a funny line.
Yeah.
Bendis nailing the speak.
I might be a little bit biased because I love Superman. You
Uh-huh.
know this. But I also love Bendis when he puts things in a work setting like this.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And this is all I've ever wanted was him on a Daily Planet book. You didn't even have to have Superman. Superman's just the bonus.
Basically, you wanted the TV show The Newsroom, but in the Daily Planet written by Bendis.
Yeah, I always said I want a Gotham Central book, but set at the Daily Planet.
Yeah.
And you could have, if you wanted to switch up like they did, where you had the night crew and the day crew, you have the, this division for an arc, and that's the street reporters, and then you can even have the gossip one and the stuff she gets into. But here, Bendis has a balance of everybody, and everybody has their voice. Like he's already locked in to the gossip girl, who super snarky towards everybody, and then you have the new girl, Good, who her whole kind of identity is I'm new here, so
yeah, and And I think what's interesting about Trish is that Trish, like, obviously this was that once upon a time would have been Cat Grant in this role.
Yep.
But obviously she's promoted. She's got her own company.
City.
Yeah, she's off doing other things. So they bring up that Superman, the kid, said that Superman started the fires, and Clark hears this. So he goes to Lemire as Superman, and he's like, "Hey, don't look at my crotch. I know it's really obvious and it's bulging, but don't look at it." Like, seriously, his crotch is bulging in there. It's the shadow work. It just looks like it's bulging. Anyway, and he's like, "I heard about the kid. Let's talk about this." And she's like, "I shouldn't really talk to you about it because you're technically a suspect now." Like, and then there's a great moment where she just looks at the S. She just sees the S, like, "Okay, you're Superman. I kind of trust you, but it's not really you." So they go and track down the kid. And he's sitting there. He's got, like, I think it's like he's bought cards, like collectible cards.
They're like magic cards, right? Like Magic the Gathering. But I zoomed in on that, and it looks like, you remember Amethyst? It's from the 80s. It's just really obscure.
Oh god, it's before my time. Yeah.
Amethyst. Well, I only know it because our friend James loved the relaunch that happened with the DCE. Is it the New 52 or DCU?
No, it was New 52. I enjoyed that quite a lot. Yeah.
But it looks like Amethyst on the card.
Connor unmuting his mic for a second and stopping eating to graces with his presents.
Look, I haven't eaten yet today. I'm starving.
He's sitting there munching. So they talk to this kid, and the kid, sure enough, says, "Oh, someone told me and paid me to do this, and I already spent the money." And there's a great bit at the end where Superman's like, "Oh, you're going to go to a shelter and volunteer for a week to make up for what you've done." And he's like, "Really? Can I do something else? Maybe clean up this stuff?" He's like, "Do you want to do what your mother suggested instead?" He's like, "No. Food bank sounds good. Sorry."
It's Superman being intimidating, but not like Batman. Like Batman would have had the kid wetting himself.
That's his parent.
Superman's like a disappointed dad.
Yeah, it's parent intimidating. Yeah. The one thing the kid says, he doesn't know who it was. He'd never seen him before, but he says he was bald. And then we get this great page where Clark's on the computer looking at a bunch of bald men, and there's like Mr. Freeze, Lex Luthor, Brainiac, what would you call him? Humpty Dumpty. Savannah's there. Hugo Strange. There's a guy whose face is like a boot print. I don't even know where that's going. And then there's quite clearly Dan Didio in one of these panels.
And Brian Michael Bendis with an eye patch.
Yes. And then is that maybe Clayface at the bottom? I guess it's maybe Clayface.
I guess it's some weird, whatever.
Do you know what I thought was weird about this is that later on we see the bald guy he's talking about, and it's a black guy, and I thought it was weird the kid never mentioned the race of the person he saw, because he would have saw that.
Yeah. Or
seen that, rather, if I speak properly. But hey, hey, whatever. We got this funny joke out of it, this page with Dan Didio, so I'm not going to complain. And Trish kind of noses her way in and starts talking to him, and she's like, "Hey, so what happened with Lois? This is news." And she ends with, after sort of like try to get to him, as he's trying to walk away, she says, "Oh, I know what happened. She left you for Superman," which of course is ridiculous to us, but it's like, there's all these rumors. And actually, one of my favorite panels of the entire book is good. Like, she's listening to this, and there's a panel of her just sort of sneaking her head out of her cubicle to listen to this, and she looks like she's just like so like, "Oh, this is juicy. We're going to do something with this." So I thought that was interesting. So we get a mysterious villain watching like Superman on a lot of computer screens, and he seems to be behind everything.
Yeah, it's also reminiscent of Jimmy. Like it looks like he has red hair.
Oh sure.
Not that I think it is Jimmy.
Yeah, I don't think it's Jimmy.
That's interesting.
But yeah. And the final scene of the book is this. So we get this like head mobster, right, who calls together all these other head mobsters. Presumably at this guy at the computers, like he asked them to like do this meeting, and he gets all they're in like a lead tank because Superman can't see them in a lead tank. So really, fun. And they're basically, okay, so who's doing these fires? What's happening? And we see the bald guy who's like, hey, I got Superman blamed for it, so that'll murky things up. And basically what it turns out to be is that all these like different like crime lords have all been like set in like independently. Like, it's not been one person doing the whole fires. They basically said to each other, hey, if Superman's distracted with a fire, like a disaster like that, he won't be paying attention to the criminal thing we're doing elsewhere in the city. And they've basically all been using this same thing over and over again. And they're like, shit, we told us only to use this in emergencies. Why are you all using it? So I thought that was kind of funny. I like this explanation. Is there's all these different criminals just doing it because they all want to have a different distraction.
Well, yeah, but I still feel like it's all a connected. Like, this is the first time, really, since Intergang we've had like a crime. I don't want to say a crime family because we don't know how these guys are, but like a criminal network in Metropolis. Yeah. And like again, this is Bendis writing to his strength and this is gonna sound odd, but this reminds me of how his Daredevil started. With we're gonna put all these things, throw all of these elements in, and he's gonna go and tie everything together by the end.
I can see it. I can see it.
But,
so we get this new villain that comes in to like take care of the guy who's been acting out of line. To sort of like red fiery smoke. What's her name here? Red Mist, I want to say.
I think it's Red Mist, which again reminds me of
Red Cloud. Sorry, it's at the back. It's the DC Nation page at the back. Actually, it has it in big bold letters. Yeah. So I went to check there.
Well, he's the mob boss looking guy with the mustache. Calls her. It's on his last speech bubble on that. As you'll know her as the Red Cloud.
So it is.
But I also thought of Red Mist, and again to talk about wrestling. Remember when Tajiri's to spit the different color mists?
Vaguely.
And each one was a different thing. Yeah. So it reminded me of that a little bit.
Connor's just shaking his head. He's not even got his mic on. He's just shaking his head at Matt. I'm doing that for the audio
people. As
if
I wasn't listening enough.
Yeah.
Nope.
So, so we basically the final point here though is that we've got this gang of crime bosses. They're all scared of this Red Cloud. And most importantly, though, they mention at the end, Superman doesn't know any of these people exist. They have kept so under the radar. They're hiding in lead rooms. They're doing all these things so that Superman doesn't even know they exist. So that's a really interesting idea. And then the final cliffhanger appears to be that Lois is already back on Earth and she's writing something. She's tapping away.
Tapping away, and it looks like she's in Chicago because that looks like the Sears building.
Oh yeah.
So she's not in Metropolis,
and she's writing writing like a book or article. She's got like titles, and some are scored out, but the one at the top's The Secrets of Lois Lane. And then there's another one that ends with outer space, but she's already back, and Clark doesn't know. That's interesting. So clearly that'll be maybe
Truth, Justice, and the Kryptonian Way is one of them.
Oh yeah. Maybe, I mean, obviously the solicit for issue 1004 hinted that there'll be a little bit of a turmoil between them, which some people were overreacting to again, because every time Bendis hints that there might be some trouble between Lois and Clark, there's going to be an uproar.
I learned my lesson, so I don't take the solicits to heart anymore. So we'll see.
Smart move.
It could turn around and bite me.
Yeah, smart move.
When 1004 comes out, but also before that, you have the big sprawling page of Metropolis. I feel like we don't get that enough. We get a lot of Gotham, but I feel like you see just how big Metropolis is, and then there's this little cottage area, where this big mansion is. So yeah, that's such a cool. It's like the purples and the reds. It looks really nice. Yeah, great issue.
Yeah, interestingly, how would you compare it to Superman issue 1?
I like this one more. I mean, they're both good. But this is kind of more in my niche, like my niche, however you want to say it, because it's everything that I've wanted in a Superman book.
Yeah, I think this one's interesting because it feels more Daily Planet, or not even just Daily Planet. It feels more Metropolis focused, whereas the other one's kind of the big cosmic Superman stuff that he's going to be dealing with. So Rogol Zar feels like a Superman thing. The Fires, the Daily Planet, and Lois coming back feels like an Action Comics thing.
Yep.
So it's interesting how they compare to each other. Yeah, I might like this one more as well, actually. There's not much in it though. They're pretty obviously like consistent with each other.
Same problem as I want the next part as soon as possible. And now that they're monthly, that's gonna be a little bit maddening.
Yeah,
but
you almost ask yourself, why couldn't they just do the arc that's like in Superman bi-monthly, and then do the arc from Action Comics, the first one, for bi-monthly after that, just so you could get them quick,
or just
the pace,
or just write Action, or just write Superman, because I'm enjoying both.
Because they're gonna want a crossover later.
Yeah,
sure, but
no,
I don't care.
Why? Because it's gonna become one big massive thing.
I've had 8 issues now of Bendis on Superman, and I'm loving it. So.
Na 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 na.
Yep.
I'm loving it.
Don't get us sued.
Well, you said it, Matt. I had to do it.
Yeah, you don't have to do the jingle. The jingle's trademarked.
Not when I'm out of tune like that. It's not. So, Matt, what's your rating for Action 1001?
It's gonna be high, but this is a 9. I loved this issue.
The
art too. I talked about Gleason. Also, real quick before the first page. That's supposed to be Jimmy's desk, right? Because there's all the cameras and everything on it.
I need to look at it again. Hold on. You're asking me big questions.
Go ahead
here,
and look at it. I was gonna bring it up, but then I just remembered it now.
I'm getting to it. I'm going through the variant covers. Here we go. Oh yeah, all the camera lenses.
But if you notice, he has the dial. He has the dial for Dial H for Hero on there. He's got Orko from Masters of the Universe, which tells me that's a thing in the DC universe, which is weird.
Which makes those crossover books bollocks.
Yeah, right. I'm trying to think of some other stuff. I mean, his desk is a mess, which I appreciate because my desk is a mess. But,
sure. Yeah.
There's something else I want to point out, but yeah, that is meant to be Jimmy's desk, right?
All those camera lenses, I think it has to be. If it's not Jimmy, then it's this mysterious character who's been doing a lot of his own research.
Right. That's what I was thinking. They have to be tied together.
But it's a Daily Planet mouse mat, so I'm thinking Jimmy.
Yeah. So what if Jimmy is watching over Superman, but it's not for these bad guys? Like I can't see Jimmy selling out Superman.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't see it. I don't see it. There'll be a weird Bendis swerve if Jimmy's suddenly a villain.
Yeah, I would not like that.
Yeah, I don't think that's where it's going. The fact that it starts on Jimmy's desk though might be an important detail for later, though. Maybe how he's related to the story.
I think so.
But
yeah, I think so.
But hey, so we'll move on then. We'll move on to Wonder Woman number 51, Steve Orlando writing, and Laura Braga on the art. So we said we weren't going to read this, and the only reason I read this is because Twitter was praising the shit out of it. Twitter was talking about it as if it was one of the best issues of Wonder Woman ever written, and one of the best of Rebirth, and such a step up. And I felt like it was a disservice to the audience if at least one of us didn't check it out and just to see how it was. And it was a fine issue. Like, you know what? It's one of the best things I've read from Orlando, right? It absolutely is. I don't know if I'd praise it quite as high as Twitter's praising it, though. Like you know, like one of the best of Rebirth means that it's better than a lot of Ruckus run, and I don't think that's true. But this issue is about Wonder Woman. Remember the villain from the Sheriff and Tana arc, the one that shot Waller, Nightfly or something like her name was, I think. Basically, this is an issue where Wonder Woman goes to visit her in a prison that's in Antarctica, and she goes to visit her, and it says like visit number 1, and it's like, you know, basically the villain like, hey, piss off, I don't want to talk to you. Visit number 2, and the idea is that over the visit she kind of like winds her down and convinces her that, hey, you can be a better person. I am here because I want to be your friend and I want to help you, and I promised that I would come and help you, and it will. And it's funny because it started skipping numbers after a few, right? And it was like, oh, visit 23, blah blah. And about halfway through the issue, maybe even earlier than that, I went, this is going to end in visit 52, isn't it? It's going to be the 52nd visit at the end. Sure.
And did it?
It did. You damn well right, it did. So, but
DC in a nutshell.
But it's a heartwarming enough story where it's her breaking her down to the point where by the time we get to the end of the issue, like the villain has kind of changed their tune and she accepts that Wonder Woman respects her. She's not lying, because the first 10-20 visits they have to take all the furniture out of the room because she keeps trying to kill Wonder Woman with her or the various things that are in there. So eventually she has nothing but like a mattress or whatever. And it's fine. Like it's a fine issue. And it's kind of heartwarming, and it's all about Wonder Woman like being there and being compassionate and trying to break through to the villain in a way that feels very Wonder Woman. You know, even though Superman might try to do that to a point, like the idea of Wonder Woman keep going back over and over again. In a weird way, it kind of neatly ties into the Silver Swan arc that Robinson did, where she didn't keep up with her after like the bad stuff happened.
Right.
And this was like her making up for that with someone else and try to be there for her to the point where, okay, because at the end of the issue or towards the end, it's Atomic Skull, which I thought was a bit weird because he's like a good guy in like Superwoman now and was still a good guy when he popped up in something else afterwards, but he tries to attack Wonder Woman and she doesn't really need any help, but you know, Nightfly or whatever her name is still jumps in and like defends her, and it's like, okay, we've come full circle, and that's that. And the art's not bad as well. It's got a decent style to it. It's very expressive. So you know, it was good. 51.
I saw a couple of panels on Twitter because, like you say, you know, people were praising it. So you know, maybe it's hinting at some stuff in the future because I think it starts cutting ahead to the future, right? So
It does, yeah.
there's one point where it's like a year from now, and she's in the UN, and then there's a bunch of different costumes.
There's there's a costume where she's got like full pants on, and there's another costume where she's got like this ceremonial robe from the UN, and it's funny because I think it starts off being like X time ago, and then eventually it's like 2 years from now, 3 years from now. So
Right.
I don't know if Orlando's run is going to be like jumping around all these time periods, or if it's actually like Wilson's like said, hey, I'm going to be doing this, can you tease some of this? I don't know, which way it's going with that. It might be Orlando's going to do like different each issue will be a different part of time, and he'll be doing this sort of opus of like all these Wonder Woman things all over the timeline. Maybe. I don't know. But if you picked it up, it was good and much better than anything that had Jason in it. And do you know what the funny thing is? There's not even like a mention of Jason. There's not a hint that she misses him. There's not a hint of anything.
I think it's funny that you said, it picks up, with that villain that shot her in Fontana's stuff.
Yeah.
It's literally just ignored all the Robinson stuff.
It's just funny.
Yep, forget about that. We're going back to Fontana.
It mentions
the
it in
last issue of Wonder Woman.
It mentions in the dialogue that happened, and then in the editor's note it says last year all the way back in issue 28, and I'm like, man.
That was like a year ago though, because I remember it was around this time.
Because Fontana was on 26 to 30, and then 31 to 50 was Robinson. So
way too much.
I mean, the problem is like I'm tempted to just read the rest of the arc. I might, but the thing is, weeks 2 and 4 when Wonder Woman's out are quite busy, especially week 4.
Yeah.
2's not as bad as 4, if I recall.
It's not. Here's the thing though. I'm going to be reading Wonder Woman anyway when it ties into Justice League Dark, and then when Wilson's writing it, so it's like I might as well just get used to it now.
We'll start now.
Yeah. There's an argument for that.
But hey, but it was good. I can't it's up there with at least the stronger Supergirl stuff, arguably better. Not as good as the Josie Hauser issues, I'd say, but better than all the other stuff he did on his own. So
that's good.
Maybe I'll check it out. I will say I'm glad you did read it, because at least now the cover is up for inclusion at the end of the show, and might not win, but it's a possibility because it's a.
Have we ever said
cover,
that
right?
we had to have one of us had to have read the book for the cover to be eligible?
Yeah, because I know you have. Because I wanted to pick some before, and you've been like, no, we didn't cover it, so it doesn't count.
Okay, fair enough. It's been a long time since I made that rule, but I'll take your word for it.
It's been a long time since it really mattered.
Yeah,
it's an RGM cover is the
fair.
main cover, not the variant.
Yes, this is a very good RGM cover as well. So moving on then, we'll move on to the Flash number 51. Jeez, they're hitting us with the big ones. This is the epilogue to Flash War, and talk about hitting my heart spot, hitting me right in the heart. This was an issue. Yep. Iris, mainly the one narrating, and she's talking about she remembers Wally being born, even though it's from a different timeline. She's having these fragments, and she remembers writing a book about the Flash, and she's like trying to write down what she remembers, and ultimately it ends up with her saying, in the future when I saw glimpses of that museum, like I knew Wally West was going to be one of the greatest heroes who ever lived, or the greatest hero who ever lived. And I'm like, oh man, this is hitting me, and I think it's hitting me because I've been reading Mark Waid's Flash run, right? And the first arc of that is kind of the flashback to the origin of like Wally West, and him getting his powers and being the Kid Flash at first. But the reason why he has those memories, because there's like a present day bookend to it, is because Iris is dead at that point in the timeline, and he finds her scrapbook about him, and he's remembering it because it's her scrapbook. So her writing about him in this oddly was affecting me, because I'm like, oh man, I was just reading like the opposite of this in Mark Waid's Flash run.
Oh man,
it was good stuff.
I haven't read much of Mark Waid's Flash, so I should probably fix that, because that sounds.
Well, those big thick
As
trades,
if you don't have enough to read.
Collecting his run are really neat and easy to pick up. There's 4 volumes out of it so far.
That's how I'm going through John's Flash. I just got the last book this week.
So all out now?
Yep.
Yeah, I've got the first 3 of John, because I read John's not too long ago, so I've not rushed to buy it. I've got the first 3 though, the thick trades.
It had been years since I'd read it, and I forgot a lot of what I've read. So, book 4 really is interesting, because they talk about the turtle, and it's like, were they seeding the Steel Force that long ago, or is that something Snyder's picked up on? You know,
I love the idea that Snyder was laying out all these, because they go to the writer summits and like Snyder's got the board out. Yeah. He's like, oh, here's what Justice League and New Justice is going to be, and he's doing all these plans, and there's going to be these new things like the Ultraviolet. And I like the idea of Johns, who's there, just leans in and goes, "Hey, I seeded this thing in the Flash a long time ago. It's called the Still Force. Yeah. Maybe you could work that in somehow." And he's like, "I'll take it." I just I like that idea. But yeah, so this was Wally's running around the planet. He's trying to figure out a way to get to his kids. Iris is chasing him. She's talking to Barry, and I love how she like says, "Oh, this was always the worst part. What I remember from the other timeline of waiting for Barry, knowing he's the Flash, is that I had to wait. It was such a thing." And she has to kind of, and it's like, no, Barry has to wait now. He can't chase him. He has to just sit here and wait. And this was always the hardest part. I was like.
And Barry tries, but he's like, I'm still a step behind him. Like he's still. I also love that this is a meta commentary on Wally West as a character.
Yep.
Right? Like, he became an entire generation. I think all of us included, he became our Flash. Because he was the Flash that we were reading, from Wade to Johns.
For me and you, yes. For Connor, it's just a ginger thing. He's a ginger, he related. True. And that was it.
And so,
another lie helps.
I like that Commander Cold is like, oh no, going through working at the temporal courts, you have to study on the Flash, and Wally was always my favorite. And like, I feel it's Williamson talking through, because how Johns felt Barry was his favorite. I feel like Williamson's that next generation, and he's with us. Like, oh no, Barry's good. Now I'm very worried about Wally, because
he's off to Sanctuary. Yeah.
I know, Joe. I've seen people this week going, Wally's definitely the one dying in Sanctuary, in Heroes in Crisis.
No,
I'm like,
no,
don't do it.
Don't do it.
You can't have brought him back just for that. Surely not.
I don't think I've really cried reading comics one or two times. I don't want to add another one.
Here's my thing.
If Wally goes,
I fully believe that Williamson's 100-issue plan involves Wally, like later on, like involves him coming back and being part of the end game. I don't think Wally's going in Sanctuary. I think Wally about part of Sanctuary.
I was reading an interview with Williamson this week, talking about how for his run he wanted to touch on everything in the Flash mythology, at least in some elements, which is why for Bart that obviously we got last issue. He said he's been begging to have Bart since the start, and he had to write like a letter convincing them why now was the right time.
God damn it.
But even so, he said, don't expect to see him for a while. That tease he's around, but he won't be touching on him for it could be like 20, 30 issues till we get to
and that's fine. I like that. He's in play. So now that I've met Geoff Johns, I've met Jason Aaron, now I have to meet Williamson. So that's the new mission. Because I feel like now he's earned that, because he loves the Flash as much as I do.
Yeah.
The fact that he wrote a letter to get Bart to just show up.
I know it's
oh
man. Honestly, I
think it's crazy they took that much convincing. They were gonna go. They were saying no, and he had to fight for it.
I love the page where
that means nobody's fighting for Connor.
That's no one cares, Matt. So I love the page where Wally does finally kind of like he shows up, because we see that he's running around the planet and he's helping people out as he goes. He's almost doing the birthright Superman stuff, where he's just kind of there to help in random places as he's going around. Except of course he's a Flash, so he's doing it at super speed. But he eventually shows up where Iris and Barry are, and he's just muttering to himself, "I can't find them. Hunter 1, I can't find my children." And I was like, oh man, this is breaking me. This is breaking me so much. And he said, off Sanctuary, the Superman and Wonder Woman come off, and it's there. And we see the Flash Museum's being built. And you know what? I like Scott Collins' art. I do have to make a complaint when Batman shows up. I think his Batman looks freaking weird.
It's hideous. Honestly, I don't like any of the stuff in costume in this issue. I think all the people and the faces are fantastic. But there's a lot of the stuff in the costumes that I just don't.
The Flash costumes look fine. It's Batman.
But there's some like the motion. There's a panel after Wallace runs out of the house. We cut back to Wally, and it's his foot and his leg, and the perspective's just kind of horrible.
I love how you can't mention a moment or something that Matt doesn't like without him having to make you know that he doesn't like it as soon as you mentioned it.
Well, because I forgot about it, and I was doing a really good job. And then Connor just reminded me.
It's the worst part of the issue. I mean, I kind of like the idea that he was aware in the future that he didn't exist until Flashpoint happened, and that kind of is ruffled him up a little bit. He's still been really annoying though. He's been that really angsty teenager. We didn't like it last issue. I mean, I guess the upside is here he's leaving to just be off in Teen Titans. So
yeah, I think the problem is Wallace has settled back into that place when he was first introduced in the New 52.
Yep.
Of being that annoying bratty teenager, and he's been so good in the first half of this run, and now it feels like a step back. And but like he says, he's going off. The book is just focusing on Barry for a bit now. So
well, that's fine. But I feel like all that hard work that they've done to make us like him, and then in the Deathstroke stuff, and in Teen Titans, like it's 4 steps back now. And
it feels.
Can we erase this, Wallace, please? Let's have Wally.
It feels like a weird justification just so that he's off with the Titans and not with them. Like he's just, we have to make him want to be angsty, so he wants to join Damien and Emmy because that's how it'll fit.
Because you have to have angst to be on that team.
Yeah, so we got Commander Cole living in Barry's old apartment because Barry's moving in with Iris because now that she's got a lot of her memories, it's like, well, we're kind of madly in love and have been together for a long time.
Why not?
In a weird way.
Yeah.
We get a Flash museum. I did like this. I mean, as much as I hated the Batman art at the end, I did really like the point in the moment here of like Wally or Barry suggesting, "Hey, Wally did all what he did because he lost someone, and he had a chance of bringing them back." Me and you are kind of alike in that we both, I lost my mother, you lost your parents. Like, why aren't we in Sanctuary? I mean, you especially, Batman. Really, he doesn't say that, but that's what I was thinking. I mean, Batman.
Yeah. I read between the lines.
Not the sanest person ever, but it was a really nice touch.
I get a feeling that might be part of the point of Heroes in Crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That they probably should be in there, and they can't really accept that. Maybe
it makes sense. But I really I like that final sort of moment. It felt like it's kind of a little bit poignant.
No, I do like the dialogue.
Yeah.
Even when Batman's there, it's like, I drove all the way here. This better be good.
Right. Yeah, especially when Barry can
definitely took the plane, but
Barry can run to his city in probably a minute, so it feels a bit dickish to say, "Hey, Bruce, why don't you make your way over?"
What did show in the museum?
It's a power play. So like he's like, "Hey, they should build you one of these," It's like, and I want him to go.
It's fine. Bruce has got his spotlight.
But, well, I wanted Bruce to go, Barry, you've been to the Batcave. I have my own thing. Like, people don't need to see it.
Just wait until Wallace gets back to Central City and sees that they didn't put a statue of him next to the other two. He is going to be livid.
They want to make him. They want to make him the second Inertia. I'm not going to be mad.
I guess you don't get a statue till you're actually a Flash.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll accept that. So when Jay appears back again and they all know who he is, they have to add a Jay statue.
Damn right.
So they just need to do a Mount Rushmore Flashes.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not going to argue with that.
No. Yeah, but I was gonna say one. I can't remember now. Oh well. Huh.
All right, we're rating Flash. We done with Flash. It was good.
Yeah, let's do that.
It was heartbreaking and warming and all those things. Connor.
8.5, excellent, but the art kind of holds it back a bit in places. Plus,
Matt.
the Wallace scene.
8.5. I hate Wallace.
8.5. Wallace scene. I feel bad, but he's really annoying in that scene. I was like,
really
okay,
it down, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You should read.
Wallace scene in Batman's face at the end. Batman's face at the end was just, his mask, his cowl was just sending me into a tizzy.
And I like Kolins. Kolins
so do I.
is a quintessential Flash artist, and we've been spoiled with Howard Porter, right? So
I don't understand why his masks, his cowl, it's so round.
Yeah, no, the rest of
angular.
I love the rest of the art. Yeah. It's just Batman. Batman shows up and it's like, ugh. What's with that mask?
I don't understand how you can be too round and too angular at the same time. I didn't think that was possible.
Well,
you just described Matt's body shape.
It is what it is. I can't help it.
Do you know what it is, Connor? It's basically like a fat person in a PS1 game where everything's pointy because of the polygons.
You're right, yeah.
It's Lara Croft's boobs from the original Tomb Raider. That's round but pointy.
Yeah, you're right. I'll allow it.
Yeah, Vigi games.
So that'll take us out of the Terrifics number 6. Jeff Lemire writing, Joe Bennett on the art. So we ended last issue, they were pulled into this other dimension, essentially, with this... what was his name again? It's the metamorpho looking dude, but he's got more of a skull head. Aegon or something like that. Aegon?
Argon.
Algon. There you go.
Sargon, the sorcerer.
Yeah.
No, you were close.
So here's well, first thing I want to say, it kept that same format as the last issue, where it was like sort of they're separated, so they're split in 4 panels, and then as they team up and it's pairs, it becomes 2 vertical panels, and then it kind of all comes together from there. It seems to be the theme of this little 2-part arc. We got the morphing dog, which I know was a crowd pleaser last time.
Element dog.
There you go. So one of the things I really liked some of the Plastic Man constructs in this one. Particularly when he made binoculars out of his own eyes, I thought was particularly inspired.
That was fun. And he does a little like car thing at one point.
It is like a little go-kart thing. He also does the gas mask, not only for himself. He does that out of his own face, but he does it with his hand for Terrific. So Terrific won't die.
I was like, does that actually work as a gas mask?
Yeah.
I mean, sure, why not?
I mean, it's a bit rough, but I'll accept it. And it's interesting.
It's like a little moon rover. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, he's a moon rover. Yeah.
So
Mars rover.
It's interesting that Phantom Girl can actually touch things in here, and she's kind of like dealing with that. But then when she leaves, they can't. And interesting though, when they do leave, Rex is like human looking again. Like he actually kind of gets cured in a weird way.
Yeah.
So this is
becomes a very handsome man again, doesn't he?
He's a very handsome man.
Yeah.
What was striking about this, because of the 4-panel thing, then the 2 panels, and then when they're all together, it's these full-page spreads. There was a lot of really big like spreads in this, a lot of big art where they were really like having all the characters, doing something at the same time, and
it actually almost became jarring for the last few pages where we just returned to normal sequential storytelling.
It did, because it sort of set up its stale so much, and they get the what is it, the Sunstone, which
Ball of Ra.
Oh, there you go, the Ball of Ra. There you go.
Not Kryptonian.
And they use that to close the portal. The bad guy tries to come out and get to them, and there's actually a really really old school looking page of Terrific holding it above his head that is very like 60s. Like what's the famous front cover I'm picturing here? Is someone holding something above their head like that?
I don't know, but it's very Kirby.
It just reminds me of like He-Man, holding the sword up.
Oh yeah, I could maybe see that. Maybe I'm thinking of Star Wars. Maybe I'm thinking of Luke on the first Star Wars poster with the lightsaber.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. So they do that, but what I really want to talk about, because obviously there's some fun action with them finding each other, the Plastic Man constructs, and they get out.
Where you go with this.
I want to talk about the real big bad that appears at the end, because we get these these evil T-spheres showing up, right?
Do you know what the worst part is? Is I knew where this was going from the very first panel of the book. Like I go, okay, I see what you're doing there.
So the real villain shows up. He's got a hood. He's not green, but he's got a hood. Although his text is green, I noticed that his text is green, and he says, "I am," wait for it, Dr. Dread.
Yeah. Like I said, first page, that very first panel, you see the metal mask, and watching the monitors. I'm like, okay, so we're getting a Doctor Doom. I didn't think they were gonna name him so similar.
Because I think we joked that he'd be like Doctor, or it'd be a different word. It wouldn't be Doctor. It'd be like Professor, something beginning with P, or
Professor Plunder.
Yeah, there you go. Or Colonel Carnage or something. I don't know. Like they'd pick a different thing, but it'd be alliteration. But no, not only did they pick Doctor, they still named him something again D after that. I was shocked. I was shocked.
And Dread and Doom are basically the same thing.
I actually started laughing really hard at this page. This made me laugh in I think it's a very intentional laugh. I don't think they do this thinking, oh, no one's going to notice this is Doctor Doom, because everyone knows this is the Fantastic Four DC, right? But I think this was an intentional laugh you were supposed to get out of this, and I laughed hard.
I kind of hope he's just dealt with in one issue and then never seen it, because I like this being the Fantastic Four thing, but I thought this might have been a step too far. I don't think I really needed this.
They even joke. Someone says his name's lame. I think it's terrific. It says
it's gotta be Plastic Man.
No, it's Terrific.
No, it's terrific.
Pathetic-
I just said
pathetic
probably.
name.
Because it sounds like a plastic.
He
thing
says
to say.
Doc Dredd, pathetic name. The final page is that we're actually in an alternate universe, which is maybe why Rex is back to normal here. And he's going to take care of Tom Strong, and that's we're tying in the Tom Strong stuff. We're coming back round to that and what's going on with that stuff.
Yes, we're in Millennium City.
There you go, Millennium
according to
City.
the little caption box that says next.
Which is obviously not in the main DCU, where we're jumping over somewhere, right? So that's fun. So no, I have a lot of fun with this book. It's kind of light on plot per issue, but I'm always having a blast with whatever weird situation they're in and just kind of going with the flow.
Yeah, these last couple of issues have felt particularly light, given that they've been playing up that format with them separated with the 4 panels. So it means there's a lot less room for story progression.
Yeah. I think this will be one of these great trades though that reads like it just flows really well. This first trade's just going to be like such an easy read when you get your hands on it, I think. No, the art's great. Obviously we've dumped from we're in Bennett still here, as opposed to Shaner, but it's still pretty solid. I think it's still bright and bold and everything else you want from it.
Yeah, I prefer this over. Who did we have at first?
Reese. I have Reese.
It was Reese.
Yeah, I prefer this over him.
Yeah, me too. For this book, I do too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, great. Because Matt's looking annoyed that we're still talking about it.
No, there's nothing wrong with this book. I don't enjoy it anymore. It's when it's packed. If this was on another week where I don't have as much to read, but
But you getting your Tom Strong stuff next, Matt.
Yeah, and that's why I'm sticking along. It's because had Tom Strong not been mentioned, I would have been like, all right, well, I'll just read this and trade later.
That sounded way more negative than I was expecting when I was making a joke about him looking upset. We're talking about it. I was like,
no, I do get the sentiment that Matt's on about though. It's fine. It's a fun little book. I think it's going a little bit too far with the Fantastic Four stuff now with Dr. Dredd.
Oh, I think that's fair. It's a fair complaint. Although it did make me laugh a lot, so I'm letting it go for now.
No, that's fair. But ultimately, I think I get what Matt's saying. That on a busy week, this feels like okay, one more thing, right? Where you're not getting that much out of it.
It feels like a speed bump. It's like yeah, that's fine, but I got other stuff. So
I would go with Speed Bob. I was looking forward to this more than I was some other books, but
yeah, but you're weird.
Taste and stuff.
You're our own Dr. Dredd.
There's probably like another 3 or 4 books I'd cut before I got to this one. Not that I want to cut any, just to be clear. So let's get to ratings then for Terrifics number 6. Connor.
It's a 7.
Matt.
That's a 7.
8 out of 10 for me. I don't know. I'm having a blast. I don't know what to say. Bright and bold, big and pulpy. I don't know. I'm into it. So we'll move on then. We'll move on then to Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps number 49. Robert Venditti on the writing, Rafa Sandoval, and Sergio Fernandez Davila on the art. So you two read this. Take it away. What's happening with this whole Dark Stars nonsense?
Go ahead, Connor, because the last 2 I've had to do.
Oh, you have, haven't you?
That's a good point. You missed the last 2 issues of this. Poor Matt's been having
the last 2. I know I missed the last one. Did I miss the one before that as well?
Maybe then I lost. Maybe I missed the one before that.
Yeah, because I did one on my own as well.
Okay.
So it's been a while since we've both been here.
Yeah, so you go ahead and take the lead.
Yeah, so we're right towards the end now. This is 49 out of 50, and this is the Dark Stars are attacking. So it's okay. What's the plan? All the allies are assembled and ready to fight, and Hal and Hammond go inside to the Controller's mind. The hive of where they are. Because that's what keeps them all connected, and that's where I believe that's where we ended last issue with them getting.
Yeah, it was.
So we basically just have Hal being like, "Hey, Hector, take over them, just shut them down," and it's like, "Do you think you can manage that?" There's like 7 of them, and he's like, "Please, done already."
Yep. I am the god. I am the god brain.
He does like saying that, doesn't he?
Yep. So
it's becoming a bit of a joke.
But so he takes them out, and you have the other groups. They're still surrounded by the Dark Stars, but because their mental link has been severed,
it's like they return home.
Yeah, they're not strong anymore. Like that was their strength. They can teleport wherever. Yeah, exactly. And so with that, they all teleport back to the controller's homeworld. I guess they're just calling it the Darkstar base. So, but we get some fun moments with Guy and Kyle. Like he goes, I purposely didn't say anything that time, Rainer, and still things got worse. You know, so like
Yeah, I had a blast out of that.
Mm-hmm. And John's still like quarterbacking this.
Yeah, he's pulling off his plan, shooting in this thing that shuts him down, whatever it was. It's a bit vague, to be honest.
Yeah, it's very vague. But we get a great image of Tomar 2 coming into Hal and Hector, and Hal just gives him the Batman Guy Gardner treatment. Just big, huge, which is funny because I think last week you were talking about Hal's all those constructs just being things that
something
you
to hit something with, yeah.
And this, it's literally like a left hand of Doom, which a right handed Doom, like from Hellboy. It's just this big fist that says Crash on it, which I just thought. So reading this after remembering you saying that really gave me a laugh.
It's just that's fine. Like, you know, I remember at the start of this run, I kept saying Venditti does not get Hal.
No.
But over the course of it, I've come around, or maybe he's just, you know, finally figured it out. But this here, it's like, yeah, okay, that's Hal. Like,
Hal's the one that wings it. Like, we all say Gardner does that, but Gardner really isn't. Gardner will rush in head first without even thinking.
Yeah.
But Hal's like, how am I gonna do this? All right, cool. I'll just punch it, and then and basically what he does. But so we get the Green Lanterns looking triumphant over the Dark Stars because basically they're all shut down now. Like,
yeah, and they come charging in.
But sorry, I had a cough. I thought you were gonna talk more.
Sorry, I thought you were in the middle of a sentence. I thought my sound had cut out.
No, that was me. But yeah, so no, the Dark Stars, they're limited. Kilowog's wiping them up. You have Arkillo taking some out. Like, it's great. It's good to see. Like, there's actually unity amongst the galaxy from Venditti's run. All of these things that have been problems, from the Yellow Corps trying to team up with the Greens, to Orion and the New Gods, to Zod.
Yeah.
Like, everything has come to a head here.
I think I'd say it's really telling that the split with the Yellows is that fractured that only Arkillo's here. And it says a lot about his relationship with Guy that, you know, that he's here despite all of that.
Yep. I want a Tango and Cash book with Gardner and Arkillo. Just a mini. It's going to be even just 4 issues.
I'll read the hell out of that.
Yeah, give them that, because they're not supposed to be teaming up. Because even Arkillo had said when he shows up, if the other Yellows know that I'm with you, like, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
You know? So, but yeah, so they're all ready to make that last stand against the Dark Stars, and it's an all-out war, and you have Tomar 2 and Hal lunging at each other.
Yeah. Because
Hal's going to defeat him and bring him in the proper way, because justice isn't murder.
And this brings me to my biggest problem with the book, is the way it ends. So it has this gorgeous double-page spread, you know, Hal on one side and Tomar on the other. And then that feels like a final page sort of thing. And then you cut to the next page, which is the actual, you know, the credits page. And you have those two in the background and the other core members just, you know, fighting Dark Stars in the foreground. And that's it. There's no dialogue on that page. It's just, you know, Last Charge, Part 2, Disrupted. Credits at the bottom. And I feel like it's a page too much. Like, they were like, we didn't know what to do here.
Well, even though, like, he knew he was ending with 50, you would assume, right? So you couldn't. Why does this have to be a part 2? Why did he have to start with 3 issues to go, do one last?
Because I think the last one, from like 41 to 50, is like 3 issue arcs.
That makes sense, I guess.
But it's like one big thing, like all the Dark Star stuff, yeah. But I don't understand. Like, I think it's that double page spread actually that's the problem. As gorgeous as it is, if you take that out, it flows into them charging at each other at the top of the page. Still, you know, a zoomed in version, but that's still there. And then you have the rest of the core in the foreground. That double page spread just kills the flow right at the end of the issue. It's a shame.
Yes, and we had 2 artists this time. So I'm sure it was Sandoval and Davila. So I don't know, maybe that came into play, you know. But yeah, no, I agree with you. Although Hal does look pretty cool, where he says you never question the will of Hal Jordan.
Well, that's the thing. It's a fantastic image.
Yeah.
Like, just taking it out of context, it's gorgeous. But
Yeah.
it just ruins the flow. And right at the end, and it feels like this weird misstep. But I'm hopeful for issue 50.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that I'm going to miss this book, weirdly.
Yeah, I mean, because it is Venditti, and he did have a point of view, you know, and I'm sure we'll talk about that more in 2 weeks when we get to the 50. Yeah. But yeah, so we'll see. But I mean, we're getting Morrison and Sharp.
Actually, we never mentioned during the news that Green Lanterns is ending. With issue whatever it is in October, which because actually one of the things I was joking about is when we found out we're getting GLC replaced with Green Lantern featuring Hal Jordan by Morrison and Sharp. I'm like, it's kind of weird to have a book called Green Lantern at the same time as a book called Green Lanterns. They're very similar, so it makes sense that's getting at the very least relaunched with a new #1. I mean, I have no idea if we're just going to like change the name and have Abnett still write it, because that could be what's happening.
You mean Jurgens?
Or Jurgens, sorry, not Abnett. Abnett's in the next book we're talking about. That's what in my head.
Yeah, but see, I understood what you were saying. I knew you meant Jurgens.
So I don't know if like he's still going to be writing that, which I kind of hope he is, because I've been liking his 2 or 3 issues so far. I've really enjoyed. So I hope he still is.
I would hope so. I feel like just call it Green Lantern, because we've been saying for this arc that we've been reading 2 or 3 issues, whatever it is, that it feels like just a Green Lantern core book now.
Yeah.
And I feel just start give us a #1, call it Green Lantern core, put Jurgens on it, problem solved.
Yeah. Unless they have some other plan where there's another team ready to go or whatever, but
I mean, the fact is that's ending in October, but there could be just a new #1 in November. We just haven't got that yet because solicits aren't out for that.
Yeah, and if it's not like an actual, if it is just literally the book's been renamed at #1, they wouldn't make a big fuss about that in advance. That would just be maybe a few days before the solicits at most, but not like, there's a new Green Lantern book coming.
They'll probably promote it near the time as fresh jumping on point. Yeah. But ultimately, it could still be just it's still just Dan Jurgens doing more of what he's been doing.
So rate GLC before we move on. Connor?
JLC.
Green Lantern Corps.
Yeah, what's JLC?
GLC.
GLC, that's what I said.
You said
J.
I said G, goddammit. Anyway, Connor, rate it.
J.
It's a 7.5. The ending just knocks it down a touch.
And JLC would be Justice League of China, of course, just for the record. But I mean,
of course.
Matt,
you missed that book. Yeah, 7.5.
Cool. All right, that'll take us on to Mera, Queen of Atlantis, #6. We're doing this first because it does say in Aquaman to read this one first, so we'll do them in order. I don't imagine this will be a long conversation because obviously it's written by Dan Abnett, art by Medina. This is basically the trial by combat. This is Orm and Mera fighting, and the winner, because in Zebel's eyes will be the ruler of Atlantis, and and if Mera wins, she can take the army with her to go and help Arthur and Atlantis fight Wrath. And yeah, it's mostly that fight, and it's Mera kind of getting her ass kicked until she summons enough strength to overcome the very things that should be killing her, and she ends up beating Orm, and that's the issue.
Much to the chagrin of most of the people of Zebel, not the people per se, but she really only has her old trainer in her corner. But her grandma's going against her, Nereus is going against her.
Yeah,
they all want Orm to win.
It kind of turns out at the end though that our grandmother was like, "No, I pushed you in this direction because I wanted you to like rebel against me because that's the Zebel way."
Yeah, I think Grandma's full of it. I feel Grandma's she's a bandwagon. Like she very much reminds me. You don't watch Thrones, but she very much reminds me of Tywin Lannister, to where she's just like, "Oh no, I knew you were gonna do that. That's why I gave you adversity to make you stronger." I was like, no, you didn't. You beat it. I'm the Queen of Atlantis now, so let's go. I did like how that she had a bunch of tricks up her sleeve. Like we all know, Orm's the Ocean Master, right? He's got that scepter that can, it can channel the storms of the seas and whatnot. But she uses her aquakinesis. She uses the animals, right?
Mm-hmm.
From Zebel. you know, she pulls a little bit of
Which,
everything.
to be fair,
are
only there because they're trying a dirty trick to like fix the fight against her.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So she, much like John Cena, she overcomes all the odds and kicks out at 2.
And then she takes she locks Orm up. Orm at the end of this says, "Hey, can you at least go back to the surface to my new family?" After he's already said to her, "Oh no, my rule's more important than they are." He basically dismisses them, and then he wants to go back after he's lost, and she's like, "No, you're being arrested. You're going to jail."
Yeah. Yep.
Chula,
she's like, "You played yourself."
Yeah. Chula, you can go and tell them, and that's a really sad little panel when she goes to tell the woman and child that he's not coming back. But obviously, I mean, he tried to sell off his sister as a wife to the king.
He's not a good person.
No, he's not. Orm's a shithead.
I'm curious to see how Patrick Wilson plays him in the movie, because early on in Johns' run, we saw like, yeah, he's this leader, but ultimately he means well, and he's going to do what's best for Atlantis. Versus here now that he's only driven about himself. So I wonder how much they'll play up that in the movie. Because I like that dynamic that just here, he let it go to his head.
Yeah.
You know, he just probably should have stayed on dry land, and he would have been better off. So, but no, I like it. And she takes the scepter because his scepter breaks, right? Like, or she confiscates it.
She confiscates it, yeah. Because when she shows up in Aquaman, she's got his scepter.
She's got the scepter.
This was an enjoyable enough little mini. It's kind of like, it's a decent little add-on, but it's also very skippable if you don't want to bother.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what
I can verify to that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what kind of upset me, where I go to read Aquaman this week, and it says read Mera first. And I was like, okay, I get that. Normally I would have read Mera first anyways, because of how they, you know... Wait, did Aquaman? No, Aquaman always came out first.
Yeah, I was always week 3.
Aquaman got pushed to this week.
That's I think that's why it got pushed, probably, because Mera is supposed to happen first.
But ultimately, nothing that happens, like, with it, like, even if Orm had won, and we see Orm riding in, it doesn't change Aquaman that much, you know?
Well, yeah,
like,
but if Aquaman had come out last week and we'd read that, we'd know Mera won.
Yeah.
So that's why they delayed it.
Right.
But you'd expect Mera to win anyway, right?
Well, you would, but yeah,
I'm talking.
It's kind of like you know, that's just fiction though. Like, you know, the good guy's probably going to win at the end, but you go through the motions of trying to pretend that they're not going to win.
Yeah, but my main thing with that is, in Aquaman, like, yeah, it's cool to see Mera riding in and we know how her story ends. But even if they had gone the other direction, where she, you know, Orm wins and Orm comes riding in with the forces of Zebul, it's basically she's just showing up as the cavalry, you know.
Yeah.
So
I
don't think they needed to push Aquaman. Is my point.
Yeah. The series as a whole, I think it was fine. It was perfectly enjoyable. I don't know if it necessarily lived up to what the first couple of issues kind of like set it up as, because it ultimately just became this trial by combat at Zebul when I thought it was going to do more than that. So that's a bit of a shame. But
it was a nice piece on Zebul though, because I feel like we don't, you know, now we kind of know that culture and why it's so different from Atlantis. But yeah, no, it's fine. More Mera. We all know how I stand on redheaded characters, so. I'm fine with it.
Aggressively so.
Put a 24/7 guard around Amber Heard as basically what he's saying.
No, that's fine. Nah.
That red doesn't even look real, so it doesn't count.
Okay, fine.
No.
Maintain the 24/7 guard on Jessica Chastain and leave it there.
That's resources better spent.
Yes. So the ratings, Matt. What'd you give it?
So this was a solid 7.5.
Yeah, I'd probably go with straight 7. Like, I think it was fine, but it was mostly that one fight, the trial by combat. And yeah, perfectly fine, but nothing super memorable. So which will take us on naturally to Aquaman number 38, Dan Abnett writing, Riccardo Federici on the art. Rounding out this arc, obviously Mera and the army show up to help save the day later on. Although Aquaman does get the final blow. I actually quite like that moment where he's like, "Why are you smiling?" and Aquaman just stabs him with like half a trident, you know, like his trident's broke, just through the eye. And he doesn't even kill him. He's like, "No, you're part of the Ninth Trident now. Like you've lost the power of the deep dark abyss, whatever it's called, and
the dark abysmal.
There you go. and now you're just a monster, and you're just going to have to live with that. And so he wanders off into the Nine to do that, and Mera's there. And sweet moment with Dolphin, I thought, as well, where we're, you know, they're kind of down and out, and things are looking quite bad.
Like, so I know that Arthur and Mera are destined to be together.
Mm-hmm.
She's the queen of Atlantis. He's the rightful throne, you know, whatever. But I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't mind if Arthur and Dolphin had a little thing. Because I like Dolphin a lot. I don't want her to go away. I guess you say I ship Dolphin and Arthur.
Yeah, we have to hope the Conic keeps Dolphin around, because Dolphin is a good addition to the cast.
Yeah.
I think I have to.
But she comes in and. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think I have to commend it, especially since the issue 25, arguably before then, but I think the supporting cast of the books really blossomed. Like I know that, you know, the Widowhood, Ondine, Volko. I feel like I've got like a really wide berth of characters from different points. King Shark's there, and there's.
Yeah. Abnett really did build another world, like here in Atlantis. So that's cool. I also love that scene with Dolphin where it looks like that Arthur he's all jacked up, but then she goes and lays on him and holds his hand. Like, it's a nice tender, like, moment. It shows their relationship from even that point where she became a character. And then Mother Satya doing her, like, from Rogue One, I'm one with the Force is with me, to the bad guy. I'm drawing a blank on his name. To Raph.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, you're not coming in here. Great Neptune, protect. Says protect and vouchsafe this your servant. Great Neptune, protect. And she just keeps saying it, and it works out. Like, it's great. But I automatically thought of Chirrut Imwe and
you know what I really liked? I liked it when they were killing the Dark Abysmal, and as it was leaving, you could hear its voice screaming and being like, "No, I don't want to leave. Where will I go?" Like, it was basically scared, and I thought that was a really interesting idea, that it was scared to leave Wrath, and that it was worried about where it was going.
Yeah.
I think too little, too late. For me, like, I'm enjoying the book still. This arc less so. I think once Wrath just became the big dark abysmal monster, this arc kind of lost me a bit. I'll be honest.
None of us really liked that he just became a monster, but once he became a monster. The monster typically looked really good in the art, so it was like.
No, it did, but it's been less interesting to me as a whole since that stuff. And you know, here now it's doing stuff with the Dark Abysmal, but it kind of doesn't matter now.
Yeah, if they'd explored that a little bit earlier, I think that'd have been interesting. But I do like the idea though that he's actually clinging. He was desperate to, you know, keep hold of him, because otherwise, where does he go?
I'd have liked to have seen some of that stuff before he became the big monster. And then this would have felt justified. Now I was like, oh, it actually has a personality. Okay.
Let's see. I like that because
mate. Oh dear. Okay, Matt. As you were saying.
But see, I like that because I like when writers can take something that maybe they didn't have time to develop, but that someone else later can. I feel Morrison does that. He'll drop these little seeds, like Professor Pig. Right, we only got Morrison using Professor Pig like once or twice, but he showed up in Nightwing or he showed up in Batwoman, you know.
Yeah.
So I feel like in a future Aquaman arc or even any other character, Justice League Dark, we could get the Abysmal Dark coming back, you know. And it's there's precedent there for it.
That make a lot of sense.
I'm just reading it. It's Abyssal Dark.
Abyssal Dark. Whatever. There you go. Before people correct us in the comments.
Yeah, because they'll be there.
Yeah, Abyssal Dark. Which makes more sense, you know. Abyss.
Yeah, Abyss. Did anyone else kind of feel pity for Wrath there at the end? Or is that just Federici's art?
I mean, that was, I think it was in the art. Like the way it was sort of like it was like Quasimodo, sulking. Like going into the shadows.
I think I was supposed to, but I didn't.
I kind of did. I was kind of like, well. Oh, he's a big ugly monster guy now. He doesn't have any power. He needs a hug. Like.
Well, you can hug him if you want, Matt. I'm going to stay over here.
Not with that tentacle arm. No way. Like octopuses freak me out, but that tentacle arm can stay away from me. But
what's wrong with octopuses?
Oh, they're gross, dude. I don't like them. I don't like jellyfish. Anything without a backbone that just kind of like no.
Okay.
Yeah. Eels. I don't like eels. Eels are weird. They have backbones, but yeah.
I enjoyed this show a fair bit. I think it was kind of the typical resolution that we could have expected, and didn't really necessarily do anything surprising. But isn't necessarily a bad thing.
But barring the last like 2 pages.
Yeah.
Okay, barring the last 2 pages where Arthur raises Atlantis to sea level.
Yeah, I think my one problem with this is he talks about, oh, this is because of the wish he made in metal. So
yeah,
why is this happening now? This feels really random as to be happening at this moment.
Because
well, the dark. So as I understood it, the abyssal dark was pulling Atlantis down. Right now that it's no longer there, whatever magic properties is going to raise Atlantis back up. But I feel like Arthur, whatever that wish was in metal, he's feeling responsible for it. So I don't necessarily think that.
Yeah, I think he's interpreting it as the wish he made when he was in metal, but that's not actually what did this.
No.
Okay, that's fair enough then.
Yeah, I think that was him trying to make sense of it, and he's like, I mean, it's kind of like, let's say I get what I want in a week's time, and it's like, oh, I made that worse than my birthday cake. I don't actually think that because I made the worse the birthday cake.
Yeah, but to be fair, there's a difference between blowing out some candles and wearing some magic metal and saving the world.
So
comics.
That panel right there,
he
looks like Thor.
He proper does, doesn't he?
Like, I have to keep reminding myself this is Aquaman, because Superman's cape comes in behind him, and it looks like
Not
Thor.
to tangent a little bit, but I've been playing some God of War on the PS4.
Yeah.
And I encountered a statue at one point, because I was streaming this, and someone, a fan of the show, said, Matt would probably love this game. And I was like, yeah, probably would. And then literally, like, 2 minutes later, a giant statue of Thor appears. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, my younger brother already gave me the rundown of that game, because when it came to the Norse mythology, he wanted to have a leg up on the game. So he started throwing all these names, and I was explaining stuff to him, like the Midgard Serpent and, you know, Laufey and all of this other stuff. No, from what it sounds like it's a game that I would love. I just wish I had time for it.
Yeah, it popped out in my head because you mentioned Thor. And I was like, damn, yeah, the Thor statue.
Apparently Kratos yells boy. Is it boy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot.
Oh.
Like a ridiculous amount.
Boy. Actually, there was a one point where you can't find them, and you're literally just pressing the square button to, yell boy, and all I could think was Jason.
I thought that as well when I played that bit, and I feel like that was intentional, right?
Maybe it was.
It felt like a joke at that expense.
Maybe it was. I can't help but hear boy like that and think of Phantasm, because that's something that Tall Man calls the main character in the first movie a lot. He's like, boy. Does that? You need to see Phantasm, Matt.
I do. Maybe you should add that to Overload one time so I can finally see it.
I mean, Tim did it on the streams. Sorry.
Damn it.
We did all 5 of them, and there's high points and there's low points.
Just like Atlantis.
There you go.
Look at that, I sweat back round. It's interesting.
Right.
We know we're getting a little crossover next month with Aquaman and Suicide Squad.
It's called Sink Atlantis.
Yeah,
so
which makes more sense now.
For guessing what the aim is.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. Wouldn't it be interesting if it stuck around like this for a while?
Yeah.
It would be way more interesting. But
I also feel like I'm not mad at that crossover, because Waller would definitely want to lay claim to Atlantis now that it's above the waves.
Can I just say, I am getting the best breeze through my window that I have I've had in like 2 months. It is so good.
Oh yeah, I had that when I was walking home from work, and there was a storm coming in, and it was just it was cool air.
It was thunder and lightning last night, so
Yeah.
Proper. Screw this summer heat. It's coming to an end, finally.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So right now, let me convert it to your guys' funny numbers.
I mean the proper numbers.
Yeah.
Funny, whatever.
Where 0 is freezing and 100's boiling, cause nice and simple.
Yeah, well, right now where I'm at, it's 43 Celsius. So.
Get away from me, you monster!
My window. I'm feeling my window right now, and it is hot.
I think I'd actually be dead.
Yeah, you'd be like a vampire in that heat.
Yeah.
He would become Zatanna's dad.
Yes.
Swinging it all back around again.
All right.
Yeah,
So
right.
what would we rate
Let's rate
Aquaman? Yeah, that's oh, look at me, Matt, on the same page. Connor,
I give it a 7.5. It's fine. It's doing what it's supposed to.
Matt.
So I liked a lot of the character beats more than necessarily the plot. So I'm gonna give it an 8.
Yeah, I will go with 7.5 as well. I think it was perfectly good. I think it was better than the Mera issue. Had some better art and sweeter moments. But ultimately didn't wow me, I guess. And some of the art, some of this like run has wowed me here or there. So it's not out of the question to maybe expect it or want it. But hey, so that is Aquaman. That'll take us on to the Silencer number 7, Dan Abnett writing again. 3 Dan Abnett books in a row. He's having a week. And then Viktor Bogdanovic on the art. Just a minor note here: the Silencer is going to be on Arrow next season. They fast tracked that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Although no, I do believe we didn't mention the solicits earlier, but I think we're getting a different artist.
Oh, maybe that's when it's time for me to jump on.
What, you really don't like Bogdanovic that much?
Oh, it's Bogdanovic now. Sorry, I forgot it's not JR anymore.
It's been Bogdanovic since issue 4, Matt. Come on now.
Yeah, I know. Oh, so for what, 2 issues?
With this issue, there was officially more Bogdanovic than there was JR.
This is the 4th Bogdanovic issue, Matt. In fact, not only that,
okay, cool.
the kid in it's got a new Superman toy, and he's flying it around, and it's like, oh, Bogdanovic is doing new Superman again. Like that.
Yeah. So we're saying, so you mean he's got a Keenan Kong toy?
Yeah.
Not when you said a new Superman toy, I thought he just got like a brand new, and it's Superman.
Why would I say it like that?
I don't know. You're like, oh, you got a new Superman toy. I don't know if that was a thing. Anyways, start with the Silencer.
Yeah, Silencer. Well, so this is the first issue. So, basically, after she's killed Talia, we open like a nightmare scene where she's like having nightmares of killing Talia again, and is eating at her. And
but do you know what? Before you even talk about what the issue is, you know what you're getting from the front cover, because it has a caption on the bottom of the front cover that says "Fly hard with a vengeance."
That is a fantastic caption, because this is Silencer. So last issue set up that she wants to go to this theme park with her her husband and son, because it's right near where the Lazarus pit is that Talia will be going to, and she wants to put an end to Talia once and for all. So the theme park trip's a cover for her to sneak off and go do this. This entire issue is set in the plane though on the way there, and it's basically they're in a plane. The 2 assassins we met last time, the creepy kid and the older woman, the Cradle and Grave.
Grave and Cradle.
Yeah. And basically, her son mentions that it's good to see that boy survived and that he's going on the same trip as us. And she's like, "What?" And she looks back and she recognizes him. She's like, "Oh, that's Cradle and Grave." She knows who they are. And it turns out they're actually like super not mechanoids, but what's the word I'm looking for? Like Deus Ex, cybernetic enhancements, augments, augs.
Right, okay.
Yeah. They're basically got lots of robot parts, and they morph into different things once they get into a fight. But basically, the issue is she goes back, and they're near the bathroom. So she goes into the bathroom, and she gets her suit on, which is like nanotech, and then she does her sphere of silence, and she has to try and fight these 2 at the back of the plane without anyone ever knowing it's happening in her bubble of silence. And that is the goal of the issue. Eventually, the villains actually put a hole in the plane, and we get turbulence, and everyone's freaking out. And then I love how at the end she comes out of the bathroom after she's dealt with it, and she's like, it turns out her suit can do a lot more fancy stuff that I didn't know about actually, where it can kind of like mend and fuse things together.
Sure if that was just the suit, or if she pulled something else off. Like, she's holding something, or she's spraying that stuff.
That's fair.
But it does look like the thing that her suit, you know when she activates her suit with the nanotech.
Yeah.
It does look like that circle thing that she's holding there.
Yeah. So and she keeps telling it to do stuff and like withstand certain things, but she comes out of the bathroom at the end, and her civvy's like, "Oh, that was crazy for a second when I was in the bathroom. What was going on?" Playing all dumb. So I don't know what it is, but it was the same with that Batgirl issue. Whenever there's an issue set entirely on a plane and there's some kind of like just crisis in the airplane where they have to deal with it, it usually makes for a fun action sequence, a fun action issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, this was a fun issue.
Yeah, I was into it. I was having a blast. I thought Cradle and Grave were fun villains.
Yep.
And obviously we end with just this idea that there's a bunch of different crime lords and assassons coming to deal with stuff, Leviathan members and whatnot.
Yeah.
So so it teases the sort of the all the people. It's basically like almost like a gold rush to get to Talia while she's like down.
Yeah, that's where they go. Obviously, they're going to where Talia is going to be taken for the Lazarus Pit, and that's why Craven Gradle were following her. It's like, well, we've already got the info on her, so we could get that bounty. But if we follow her to Talia and get that location, we'll get way more money. So that's why they were doing that.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool, and I'm hitting things. So that was a fun issue. I like what it's set up, and it's good action. So, would you rate it?
I just checked the solicits, by the way. Issue 10, which is that one. It's Patrick Zercher.
Ooh.
Who I'm a fan of, so I'm excited for that. But as for this issue, it's a straight 8. A lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. 8 out of 10. So there you go. That is the final book of the week, which means we're on to picking our favourite stuff of the week, which is
you don't want to hear why you shouldn't read Teen Titans?
Oh, that's right. Yes, I forgot that. It wasn't on my list. That's right. So last minute little insert here. 30 seconds. Matt, how's Teen Titans number 22?
So it's not. It's not bad, but it's not versions of these characters I want to read. They're all very angsty, except for Roundhouse, who's essentially the kid from Deadpool 2. Like, he's very self-aware and wisecracking. And he came from YouTube. He is a YouTube star, so I'm wondering if Sideways, or YouTube, whatever the DC equivalent is.
Yeah.
And Kid Flash brought him onto the team, and Jin's there, and she's, magical and cares for cats and whatever. But they take out Brother Blood, and turns out Damian's not killing people like he did in that special one-shot.
Mm-hmm.
But he basically took one of Batman's safe houses offline and is now running it as his own private prison. And he's got Onomatopoeia, he's got Brother Blood, he's got Black Mask, and funnily enough, you mentioned the Atomic Skull. Atomic Skull was there too.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah. So I was reading this because I love Emmy, and I used to love Wallace, but Wallace isn't even written as the same here. He's not as angsty as he was in Flash, but he's still kind of like, I don't trust adults. And Emmy she feels off. So I don't think I might pick up the next issue, but probably not, especially if it's a huge week like this.
Yeah, which it probably will be, because it'll be week 4 again next month.
Yeah.
So that's fair. What would you rate it, Matt? Then?
It was at best a 6.5. Because, art's fine, but it's not great, and the story, I didn't even touch on Lobo's daughter, who's completely annoying. The new characters just kind of don't work, and I know what they're doing. They're trying to do what they did with New Teen Titans by interjecting these new characters, because Roundhouse feels very Beast Boy, and Jin feels very Raven, so...
Kind of feels like, why don't you just use those characters, right?
Yeah, right? And just Damian being like, I'm just going to do it my way. I feel like we've moved on past that Damian. Especially with him working with John and Super Sons. You definitely wouldn't want John hanging out with this group of kids. Because then he'd start acting all emo, he'd cut his bangs. You just don't want that.
Yeah, no, you don't.
Oh, God. Don't need an emo John.
I remember when I wanted John to join the Teen Titans, and no, not so
me
much.
Too.
Yeah.
This isn't the same person. He doesn't even have the same vibe. Even though a lot of the character, Damian's the same, and
they can keep Wallace. Let's get Emmy back.
Yeah.
Damian will get somewhere else, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, and Damian has ups and downs. It all really depends on who's writing him.
Yeah, but he's popular enough that he's guaranteed to show up somewhere else.
Yeah, of course. So,
all right. Well, let's move on to favorite stuff of the week, which is best panel / moment, best cover, best artist, and top 5 books. And this week is actually a lot of books to pick from, so we all have a bit of a decision making to go. So starting with best panel / moment, Matt.
Oh man, put me in the spot. Am I gonna go Flash or am I gonna go Action Comics? Let me browse through Action, because there's some really good stuff in there. Actually, no, I'm just gonna go Flash. It's the scene with Wally, and it's going about his history, and you see all the different moments from there.
A 2-page spread with all the actual flashbacks behind them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get you. you know what? Just for something different and fun, because it'd be easy to go to Doomsday Clock. It'd be easy to do an emotional moment from Flash, or whatever. I think I'm actually gonna go with Justice League Dark and go with when the Giger-esque and the Thing-esque people start getting up, and it's like proper like horror, because that was like, okay, right, I'm into this book now. Like, this is okay. If this is what you're going and what you're leading to, yes, all of it. So yes, Connor.
Mine's also from Justice League Dark. It's the page of Wonder Woman and Chimp sat at the bar. I just think it's a fantastic image.
Yeah, can't argue with it. So best cover of the week. Oh my.
It's actually tough because there's like 3 or 4 fantastic covers.
The Flash variant is particularly nice. If you've forgotten that one,
it's all right. It's probably lower on my list this week, which tells you a lot about how many good covers there are.
That Capullo Justice League Dark is pretty great.
Yeah, you've got the Manipul action cover. You got the Mac action cover.
Yep.
You got the Argem Wonder Woman.
The Detective variant's not bad either, actually. That I'm looking at it.
Yeah, that's alright, actually.
All these choices.
Yeah, I have mine. If you guys want to go.
Oh, on you go, Matt. What's yours?
It's the Mac action variant. Like, as much as I want to go with Manipul, I don't think it's his best Superman work. The colors look a little off, but that Mac one just has everything going for it.
Yeah, I actually have to probably just go with Wonder Woman, the main cover. It's just it's so good.
Yeah, I'm going with Wonder Woman.
Do you know what I love about it? I love that the reds have like a sort of almost velvety look to it. It's just the colors are so.
Especially on the cape.
Yeah.
It feels like there's weight to the material, which often you don't get.
So Wonder Woman. All right. So best art of the week then.
It's Gary Frank.
Yeah, Gary Frank.
No, not for me, gents.
Oh God, what are you doing?
He's going Gleason, isn't he?
I am going Gleason.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my reasons are this: we're used to Gary Frank being amazing, right?
Sure.
With Gleason, it was a surprise that was. I had to check to make sure it was Gleason. I had to go back to the credits page because it didn't look anything like his. So I have to give mine to Action this week just because it was a nice surprise and really solid.
All right. So top 5 books of the week then. I'll pick in Connor first, and he can do this.
Yes, I will deliberate carefully. No, I think Justice League Dark is my number 1. Then Doomsday Clock. Then Flash. Where am I going after this? See, this is where it gets tough. I think then I'll go Silencer. I had a blast with that. And at number 5, I'll give it to Terrific. I don't know. 5's a tough spot.
All right.
You're funny.
Matt, what you got?
Yeah, so my number 1 is Action Comics 1001. 2 is Flash. 3 is Doomsday Clock. 4 is Justice League Dark. And 5 is Detective Comics.
Yeah, I think I'm taking the same 5 as Matt, but I'm jumbling the order fairly significantly.
Yeah.
I think I'll go with Doomsday Clock still at number 1. It did not get dethroned for me this week. But I'll put that at number 1. I think Flash at number 2. Action Comics at number 3. Justice League Dark at number 4. And Detective at number 5. That's my.
Yeah.
There we go. Tough week because sometimes it's tough because there's only 5 books. It's like, okay, well I can order the top 3 and then it's like, well, the last 2 are just kind of even. But this was like no, there's actually like 10 books to pick from. So fun. But there you go. That is the show. I actually don't have up my list for next week. I'm going to let one of you two do that this week. Go to Diamond.
You want it, Connor, or you want me to do it?
I'm going to give you the honour. I should have told you beforehand, but because
I have it in front of me.
Yeah, I'm only on one monitor this week, so I don't really have room for it. So I'm letting one of you take the reins.
So we got Adventures of Super Sons number 1, We got Batman 52. We got Deathstroke 34, Green Arrow 43, Green Lanterns 52, Justice League number 5, Mr. Miracle number 10.
Finally.
Nightwing 47. And then what we're not covering is Harley Quinn 47. And I think that's...
no, Harley Quinn 47, Curse of Brimstone 5.
Oh, Connor will be covering that. He'll just be covering that a little bit later.
Not next week.
Yeah.
An unexpected 3. Yeah, just those 3 that we're not covering. It's a significantly lighter week all round.
Yeah. Yep. I feel like I still have a solid like 6 or 7 books there. It's not.
I think we've got 7 or 8 for the show in total.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for Return of Super Sons. So...
I didn't even realize that was next week. I'm going to be honest. That's kind of an over for me.
And it's a maxi. It's 1 of 12.
That's cool.
Plus Deathstroke. This is, I think, a make or break for Deathstroke if I'm finally over it and just not read it anymore.
I think I'm really intrigued because actually from the solicits, that issue, the Deathstroke's getting put into Arkham.
Yeah.
And I can see Priest having a lot of fun with going into Slade's psyche.
Let me retake that. I'll probably make it till the end. It's part 5 of 6 of Batman vs. Deathstroke. So I'll probably make it to the end, but if I'm over it...
I actually still haven't read the last issue because I didn't have time to read it last time.
You're not missing that much. It's nowhere near as good as it used to be. You know, like it's. I find it, as much as I used to complain about it double shipping and moving so fast, I miss the double shipping because now it's.
I think it's because the pace never changed after the double shipping stopped, so it's still exactly the same. Just you're getting it, less often. So again, it's one of those where it'll be fine long term. You're reading it in the trade, but monthly it feels slow.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, there you go. That wraps up the show. That's episode 114 of Comics from the Multiverse. And we'll be back next time with those books, and we can have fun with that. Let us know what you thought of the books this week, and it would behoove us not to tell you about patreon.com/MailFuzzTV if you want to support the show and everything we do here and keep us going and so on, and punish Connor and myself by making us read books at the high tiers. You can do that, but of course, if just for $5 you get the bonus episode a month. This month is coming up soon. We said that last week, but had a lot of delays. Me and Connor typically record something every day, and we've recorded nothing for the last 2 or 3 days due to
a mix of... okay? You guys getting a divorce like my parents did? They stopped talking and they got a divorce.
It's been a mix of different things, one of which is tech issues on my end, one of which on his end is irregular work hours with heat and sleep issues.
A lot of overtime.
So I mean, poor Castle Rock review has been like so gimped. Like I feel so bad. That was meant to go out on Wednesday.
I'm surprised Tim didn't just jump on and be like, "Guys, we're doing this."
Well, no, that's funny because the first night we were gonna do it, I didn't because I was up. I had to be up early the next day for work all of a sudden. And then the next night I was, that was when I hadn't got any sleep the night before. So I said to Pete, like, "Hey, if I don't make it, feel free to ask Tim." But then. Pete also slept really poorly, so
it wasn't even that. I wasn't a sleep thing.
Just take advantage of it.
Thursday, when I went to bed on Thursday night, my computer wasn't functioning because I hadn't fixed it yet. So it wasn't like my computer. I couldn't have recorded anything that night. So it's just been a mix of things. So we should get back up to speed over the next few days.
But the monthly will happen.
A monthly will happen. Yes, I read most of it today actually, which is JLA the Nail, which by the way, can I just say this is the sneak peek of that monthly episode. One of the first things I'm going to say in that episode is I had no idea what this book was about, and I was shocked.
Oh my god, really?
Almost immediately. I had no idea this was an Elseworld about a world where Superman was never found by the Kents. I had no idea that's what this was. I was so confused that first page. I was like, what's happening?
So wait, hold on. So do you want to give away why it's called the Nail, or do you want to do that on the show for those that don't know?
I don't know if I've gotten to it yet. Why it's called the Nail, so I won't say it.
I'm not going to say anything.
Yes, leave it be. I just assumed it was a big Justice League story. I didn't know what it was.
No. And there's a sequel called Another Nail.
I know, my book has that in it as well. But we're just doing the first one. We'll do the sequel later, probably.
Yeah.
But
once I finish with Flash, I'm gonna go read that one because I started it, but then I started my reread of John's.
There's dark as shit things that happen to characters that usually wouldn't be killed, but because it's an Elseworld, they start killing off people, and I'm like, what's happening?
Speaking of darker shit, I've only just noticed all the lights gone, and yeah. See, because of the aforementioned tech issues, I can't actually see myself in the usual place, so I haven't noticed until like this second.
Luckily, your face is pasty white, so you're still shining through quite well.
You reflect. You're like a bounce board. You just reflect light.
I do. Yeah.
Oh.
Can't sneak up on anyone.
Yeah. Green Arrow had quite a heck of a run from 80s to the 90s as a supporting character in books, and then that's all I'll say on that. So poor Ollie.
I mean, I've seen Oliver Queen in his current situation early on in the book. I don't know where it goes, but.
It's not good though, right?
I'll just say, like, I was like, you know, two pages in, Lex Luthor's like Mera, like Metropolis, and Oliver's where Oliver is, and I'm like, holy shit, what is this book? I was not expecting such an Elseworlds.
After that, you guys should add the DC The Golden Age to that, because there's some pretty messed up stuff in that too.
Oh dear. Well, next month will be a vote month for patrons for the monthly episode, because it's a week 5 month, so they get a vote in those months.
We'll put in some lighter options. Not shorter, just tonally lighter.
Oh sure, yeah. Maybe it'll be like a bunch of volume, like for volume 1s that we've done. We'll put in a bunch of volume 2s in the vote or something like that. See what one they want is continue. I don't know. Anyway, that's the show. That's 114 of Cots in the Multiverse. Get us on Twitter at DC Comics Podcast. Like and subscribe and comment, all that stuff. All of that helps. If you can't give us money on Patreon, don't feel bad. You can help us in other ways. But that's us. So thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, guys, and always remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.
I get it. Nobody cares about Connor Fan.